pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know it's not traditional to always say the first before being in town, official going forward, but how are we doing this? So, we have a confession to make, or apologies, but none of us were aware that the trust, I'm standing up because I heard it back. We thought that the trustees, the new trustees would take effect today. And Will called us the other day, says, no, they don't take effect until the 7th of April. So they got their families and stuff here. We're going to swear them in today, but they don't become official till the 7th. So I apologize for that. But it's just the way it felt. We didn't know that. So if I knew that, we would have done it. So you guys take the spot. I would suggest up there in front of the American flag. Is that pretty good for you guys? Be sworn in?
If we could do it down here.
Wherever you want. Wherever you want.
If it's not accessible from the public.
Sure.
Is that okay? I can do it with the background here. That's fine.
Yeah. Where do you want to go?
Thank you.
Okay, so who wants to be first? All right, I just got, since the first meeting, April 1st, does not follow the first month, I gotta read this for the record. The two trustees that will be sworn in this evening will not begin their terms until noon on Monday, April 7th.
Don't you want to come up here? Yeah. You come on, fam.
You said they weren't doing it.
I go first.
Go ahead.
Come. No. Come on.
I'm up there.
I, Cynthia Noplin, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee according to the best of my ability.
I, Stephen Buriani, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New York, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of trustee according to the best of my ability.
I'll be in yours.
Thank you. Oh, thanks, Wendy.
Don't be more.
Thanks, Mom.
Okay, folks, good evening. We're here for the public hearing for the new village budget. All right, what we all want to know about is, what's the budget? What do I need? What do I need to do?
Mike, we need to do the public hearing for the tax cap.
Call to order on the public hearing. The proposed law is to override the tax levy established in General Municipal Law, Section 3-C for the fiscal year 2025-26. Public comment? State your name and address for the record, please.
Don Berger, Water's Edge. Okay, first of all, it would have been nice if you had a microphone out here. It's kind of hard to hear. You have the availability of having that. You should have had that out here. This is very important, two public hearings. What is the tax cap this year?
The tentative tax cap, what is the tax cap that you're we're going to break it so it doesn't make a difference.
I can't.
We're gonna break it so it doesn't make a difference right now.
I understand that, but you should know what the tax
Okay,
cap
all right.
is, and I'd like to know what that is.
Don?
What is the tax cap?
3,592,432.
So 2%, and then when you look at the tax rate, it's 18.1 or so, based on the March 20th date. Did everybody hear?
Hear you, yes.
So the tax cap for New York State is 2% again. So that's something we go through every year. That's a question we try to answer to the audience. So it's 2%. Where we are right now is an 18.1%. Now, this is a work in progress from now to the end of the month, of the 22nd. We'll be working on it together with your input and questions, okay?
Thanks, Debbie.
You're welcome.
Yes, sir. State your name and address for the record.
Mark Palczewski, Village of Montgomery, 214 Tompkins Road. I just wanted clarification. The cap is 2%, and the proposed budget is 18.1% over the current budget?
Well, it's not, the tax cap calculation, the calculation is based, it's a 2% on the tax levy.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the tax rates. So that's a everybody gets confused with that. It has nothing to do with the tax rates.
Okay, so can you state it in terms that, I'm not an accountant, in terms that people would understand, what's the tax rate proposal going to go up, 18%?
The tax rate, what you're gonna get in your bill, the tax rate is gonna go up 18, well, it's proposed to go up roughly 18%.
Okay, and if it's over 2%, you need to vote on it. Thank you. Thanks for the clarification.
Anyone else? Public comment closed. Make a motion, close the public comment.
I'll make it.
Second.
Hearing.
I'll second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, open tentative budget hearing fiscal 2025-26. Close order public hearing. Tentative budget for fiscal year 25-26 as proposed by the Board of Trustees, line by line. Public comment will be limited to 3 minutes.
Mike, can you please talk a little louder because it is low?
I'm sorry.
Talk a little louder because it is low.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm going to go through it, yes. First in opening, what we all want to know, all the years of staying below an imaginary tax cap in New York State has led us to today. The tentative budget for the last 2 months from our dedicated employees who went over this, and we've done this for the last 2 months going through it, is an 18.8% increase. It's still a work in progress. Still a big work in progress. Our estimated fund balance is $1,598,000. $998,000 of that would have this village operate for 2.42 months if we had no money left. And we have $600,000 aside for floods, tornadoes, and disasters. As of this point, and again, we are still working on this, the average household in this village would rise, their taxes would rise $435.72 for the year, or an average of $36.31 per month. I'll start off on page 2 of 11 pages we have here. We start out with the legislative, the Board of Trustees. No raises including me. Any questions on that? We move to judicial. Any questions on that? The Associate Justice dropped to 3,000 from 3,789 because they're just starting their position. Any questions on that?
Over here.
Are you asking the board if there are questions or the public if there are questions?
Public hearing. Right.
So you didn't ask the public if we had comments on the fund balance. You had said, if I heard you correctly, you had said that the fund balance is, and if I heard you correctly, the existing fund balance is $1,598,000.
That's the forecasted fund balance for May 31st.
I'm just telling you what I'm
I know,
asking what he said.
I'm just clarifying for you.
I'm asking the
I'm
next.
sorry. Got
I
it.
have a support group here that helps me out if I make something wrong, because I'm not perfect, and I'm learning how to do this. So that's why they, so go with your question, please.
Huh?
Go with your question, please.
Is the fund balance $1,598,000 as stated?
Want me to answer?
Yes, please.
My apologies, Don. I answered ahead of time. Right now, the estimated fund balance is 1.598 through May 31st.
Okay.
That's an estimate.
My next question is, back in the last year when we did the budget, and I had asked this board about the fund balance, how much was being used in the fund balance, and what was the remaining fund balance. And Mr. Klum answered the question, and I have it all here in my notes. The fund balance at that time, after you took monies out, and the remaining fund balance was $380,000. So how did you get to 1.5 million?
That's the next question. Ron?
The projected fund balance, we started out with 1,200,000, that's totally, the total fund balance without.
I'm
any-
sorry, sir. Yeah, we can't.
You guys want to
The total fund balance,
No, you need to have a microphone.
Why don't we?
Talking to the front of the room.
stand in the middle of the process? That way we can all hear.
Ron, if you want to come up here too, you come up.
No, that's okay.
What picture see?
so the total fund balance last year was 1,200,000.
Ron, come up here.
That's all, that's all it comes to.
Come here and sit here. Come here, just take this seat so you can talk out to everyone.
So the total fund balance last year was 1,200,874. That's total fund balance and everything, without any reservations of fund balance, taking money to balance the budget. Then we took year-to-date revenues as of March, because that's the last report that I had from the Treasurer's office. So that's $5,213,000 in revenue. Then you have to project 2 more months of revenues for April and May. So that came in at around $354,000. So total estimated revenues for this current year that we're in is $5,568,000. So then we took the expenditures that happened through March of this fiscal year, which is $4,126,000. Estimated those 2 more months of expenditures that are going to be coming in, which is $1,043,000. So that total, is around $5,170,000. So the projected fund balance as of May, because everything, you know, we're estimating it, is going to be roughly $1,598,000, and we're using $600,000 of that to balance this budget that we're doing for 25-26.
Okay, so, again, going back to last year, and Ron, you know, me and you talk about this at every budget meeting for the past 10 years, we've been doing this, right? So I try to keep the best notes as I possibly can. So last year, when I asked you what was the fund balance before you took monies out of the fund balance, this is your words, was $890,000, all right? And then the remaining balance, after you use fund balance to help lower the tax rate, was $380,000. And those are your words.
Okay.
So I'm just really confused how these numbers drastically skyrocket.
Well, you gotta understand, fund balance changes every single day. So it's constantly changing. It's a moving figure. Think of it as the net worth of you. You know, every time you buy or sell a stock, or every time you write a check, your fund balance is constantly changing. So if you got those notes, that's good, but I don't remember the exact number at that point, at that point in time.
I can show it to you if you'd like to see it. You know, again, me and you talk about it every year at every budget meeting, what the fund balance, what the tax rates are and all that kind of stuff, and I keep pretty decent notes on that. I guess my final question pertaining to the fund balance is that Evidently, according to what you just said, there's been an increase in revenue. Where did we get the increase in revenue? What has changed year over year that has created such a large increase in revenue to make the fund, or have the fund balance go up to where it is now, or where Mr. Hembury said it was at $1,590,000? Where did we get the revenue from?
So the bulk, can I answer?
Yes, please.
The bulk of the revenue was coming from the building inspector. He brought in quite a bit of funds from permits as well as COs for major projects that are going on.
And what major projects are
The
there?
major projects were food bank, city winery, the CO for Butler, excuse me, the permit for Butler, the CO comes in next year, well, the next fiscal year. And there's one more.
So
Can't say just-
those permits, what you're telling me is that
It's about
there was
100.
over $1 million worth of permits?
People at
received?
107, no. People at 100, you asked me where the bulk came from, well, you asked them. I'm just saying a good bulk came from the building.
Well, thank you for that, Debbie. I'm just,
No,
again,
it's a good question.
again, you're saying that's $100,000, but we've had over, it seems, the numbers I'm looking at, $1.2 million of added revenue based on the numbers that the mayor and what Ron has given us tonight. I'm just confused because all these years that I've been coming to these meetings, we've never had a jump like that. And if you look at the fund balance, year over year, it's always been very consistent around the $900,000. And now all of a sudden, we're flush with money. I'm just trying to discover how that happened, where that revenue came from. And certainly permits didn't give you that kind of revenue.
I guess we could find out that information and let Don know that, right? I mean, it's a good question. I think we want to research that, how that went up in a more formal way.
So,
Can I answer one more question?
Yes, you can.
Can I elaborate just a little bit more? That's okay? Can everyone hear me first of all? All right. So last year we raised taxes. We pierced the cap to 4.9%. So some of that additional revenue came from the raised taxes, which was very helpful to put us in a better spot, right? So we passed the 2% to 4.9%, which that brought in extra revenues from the property taxes. The other area I would say is, just I wanted to clarify, I'm not sure if you heard correctly or the audience heard correctly. Right now, the estimated fund balance is 1.5 now. When we take out the 600,000, it left us with 998,000. I just want to make sure, I don't know if people heard that correctly. Does that
yeah,
help
but that
out?
$600,000 is from a 1.5.
Correct, you're correct.
So you're at 1.5.
Correct.
And so Kevin, what you just said, that you need to research, maybe perhaps find out some reasons for that. So with that being said, I trust that this public hearing will remain open until we get that information.
I don't know.
Well, we need that information to understand the budget.
Like I said, it's a work in progress. You're seeing what we have here, so we don't have all the answers. We are working it out. Okay, so it's being worked on. The experts are brought here to answer questions that I don't know.
Right. And I want to, all I asked for
Okay,
was, are you going to keep the
nobody's
public
talking
hearing
here.
open?
We're just
until we
saying we're
start?
looking at this. So
I just think, to move forward and try to
Yeah.
go through the budget process and the public hearing that we can't get stuck on the revenue part of it right now, but we can get that information and get a better understanding of it.
Okay. So get that understanding, we keep the public hearing open, so we have a definitive answer on that.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you.
now we're into work for the judicial. Any questions on that?
What page are we on?
We're on page 2 of 11.
Chair, I have a question about the Board of Trustees. Could you elaborate what is included under the contractual line 1010-400A?
On the Board of Trustees, the contractual part,
Yeah, and I'll just say as a blanket statement, there's $416,000 in this budget marked as contractual. and I, as a taxpayer, I just have no clue what that means. And I'm not even including the stuff under sewer, or the legal fees, or the engineer. That's an
What are you
additional.
talking about, the contractual underneath Board of Trustees?
Yeah.
That's 10,000?
Yeah.
That's for telephones, for training. We would like to knock that down, a lot of training we could do online.
Okay,
My training as well.
thank you.
All right, moving into judicial. Any questions on that? Executive. This comes from the A-line and the water and sewer. Any question on that?
Excuse me, I have another question about the contractual levy that as well, and I missed asking about the judicial contractual.
On the contractual on the executive? Okay, that's for telephones, towns and villages meetings, dinners. I offered everybody to buy shirts for everybody here to identify them when they're at different events. That comes out of, that what I get from my budget, my line.
I have a question on contractual. Why did,
Moving to, yes, Mark.
so why does one person have 10,460 and 4 people have 10,000? The contractual for the legislative is for 4 legislators. It's almost as much as for the contractual for one person.
You mean for the mayor?
Yeah.
Because
Are your expenses that great, much greater?
all the meetings, the dinners, whatever they go to, that all comes out of my budget, covers everybody.
And the other thing too is 15,000 for the judicial. What is that for? That's part
That's for training, law books, all your supplies, paper products, staples, pens, stamps, ink, paper.
Is that one person?
Well, I know the entire show, but that's for
For the
the
whole
entire
board.
Yes.
Okay.
It's the whole
It's
section.
everything, it's training,
No, you just
it's
clarified.
everything.
Thank you.
I had the same question going through asking about contractual even last year. And what I've been able to determine, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that's the bucket where all the other incidental expenditures come out of. For trustees, it's training, it's all the support pieces that aren't itemized here. That if you think about the job that's being done, it's the incidentals that go to enable them to do it. They need stamps, envelopes. Unfortunately, that stuff adds up. But you'll see a contractual about under each heading, and in general, that's what it covers. Everything that you don't see here is captured in contractual.
Can I make
If that helps.
Can I make a comment to
Absolutely.
one time, if you don't mind? One thing that I think people want to understand is the details. I mean, if you have questions, we can answer those details. In the trustee budget, for the contractual line, it is training for 4. We have 2 new people coming on board. One of the things we're going to be doing in the next week or so is looking at that budget in more detail to see, what should it be, given that we have 2 new people, because that means new training. The new people will go to the training first before the people who are already in place. So that's something. The other thing is in the mayor line, there is budget for training if you have a webinar and things like that. So same thing as a trustee budget if there's a webinar. The other thing that's underneath the trustee budget is even your badges, so when we order your badges and your cell phones and things like that, that gets allocated to that. But what we'll do is we'll be looking to see if we could build some kind of criteria so it's very crisp for all the trustees on what we're going to utilize for the training in terms of how do we allocate that for 4 people. Does that help, Mark?
Yes, thank you.
A lot of training we found can be done online, instead of going away and costing per diem for food, for staying in a hotel, you can do it online. So we can save a lot of money on that. I had not went for training because I wanted to distribute to everybody else here. Auditor, any questions on that?
Just to be clear, on the auditor line, we don't have a CPA line, so that is the auditor line. In terms of auditing, which is very different, that's separate.
Can I ask
So that's my CPA line.
Why did it double between in 2 years? Right, it went from 3475 to 7,000.
So I could answer that one. I'm new, so I need more guidance. And if we want to make sure we're making the best of our taxpayers' dollars, I want to make sure I'm doing everything within the controllership guidelines and things like that. So I've tapped into him a lot more, and I'll probably have to tap into him in June, because the AFR is due in June, and that is huge. We also have to reallocate money back and forth to the appropriate fiscal year. So you could blame me for being new, but to be honest with you, that's why it's a little hard.
Okay, and I apologize. for
No, that's okay. I'm being fair.
You're asking a lot of the village, and on top of that, you know, the town went up 18%. We all live in the town.
48%.
And the county goes up and the state goes up, and I'm on a fixed budget, and even though it's, I don't know how much a month or whatever, $400 a year it adds up, because the town's asking us for more money, except everyone's asking for more money. And it's a 23% raise in the last 2 years, because if your peers didn't, was 4.9 in the year before. 23% is huge. I mean, in private industry, that's a lot of money. You know, so that's why I'm a little nitpicky, and I'm sorry, you know, I don't want to be nitpicky, but I want to make sure.
I agree with you, Mark, and like I said at the beginning, what we did was we just kept, for years, we went through an imaginary budget from the governor. Keep it down. Well, everything else rose. Well, it's like pushing a beach ball into the water. Eventually, it's going to pop out. And it was commented about a year and a half ago, whoever takes over for mayor is going to get hit with a good budget. Well, here I am. So we just got to pay the piper here. That's just it. It's like getting a estimated water bill for 10 years. And then all of a sudden, they have to pay for it.
I mean, it just makes it less livable.
You know, I'm going to fix income myself. That's why people will leave in New York State and move south.
Exactly. Why people move to South Carolina.
I know.
This is a good question.
Okay, moving on, we have finance, treasurer, deputy treasurer, equipment, contractual budget. Any questions on that?
Questions in the back?
Sure.
Yes, please stand and say your name.
Yep, my name is Walt Mahoogie, 99 Union Street. I have some comments and questions on several roles. It has nothing to do with the person, it's about the role. I pretend there's no actual name on it. Can someone explain, please, A, why we need the deputy treasurer, a deputy treasurer, to be making that much money, and how that was a 200% increase from $10,000 plus last year to $32,000 now? I understand that went from part-time to full-time, but why would we need a full-time treasurer and a full-time deputy treasurer?
I think more of this is going to come up in a few different, am I correct, Debbie? This comes from the A line, then water and sewer?
I think, did you say something? So one of the things that happened 2021, is that correct? There was an audit that was done in the village. And they had recommended to have 2 full-timers in the office. That recommendation wasn't followed, and when they did the follow-up recently, that was one of the things they had to implement, was to have 2 full-time people in the office.
By law, the village has to?
By auditors and controllership, that was a recommendation that was made in 2021. I wasn't here at the time, but that was the recommendation. So,
I also like to add too, I've been spending a lot of time in Debbie's office with the understanding the purchase order system and trying to help along with some of the IT stuff. And I cannot tell you how busy she is and her, we'll leave her name out of it, her position and the assistant position. I don't believe it's a one-person role. I think it's possible to do what needed to be done. And what we've been finding is in the last year and a half that I've been here, finding a lot of things that haven't been done. So she's been trying to catch up with this. It's definitely not a one-person job in that office. And prior years when we had other treasurers, we always had assistant treasurers. I think that it's a needed position.
And they were both full-time until then.
Just so you know, this is 2 weeks worth of paperwork that comes out of that office, and this is just vouchers that need to be signed. That office is still manual PO requisition system. It's something we're looking at, catching up with the rest of the world. I understand the concern when you see the line item increase, but this, along with everything else and the water bills that need to be sent out, is way more than one person could handle.
And we are very, I apologize for saying this. We are very fortunate that we have Debbie Delgado. She was a corporate executive. So she comes to this village with knowledge. She just has to learn the policies of this village. You don't get something like this just coming off the street. So we are very fortunate to have her. God forbid we lose her.
You also have in terms of municipal finance, you need to have checks and balances. You can't have, it's not the best practice to have one person in control of auditing the invoices,
Okay,
doing the
that's
purchasing, writing the checks. And if you have one person doing it, a couple of things. It can lead to errors. So you need to have a system of checks and balances. You need to have a second set of eyes on these documents to make sure we're not paying a bill twice. Making sure that there's not an invoice that's come in that doesn't match up with a purchase order. And that's why it is a larger number on the budget line, but it's a necessary practice. The comptroller's office has made a note to the village, and properly, that we should have that system in place, and hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
It does, thank you. And I don't deny there should be two, but that jump of a 200% is extreme for in 1 year. That should be crept up over years, because that is a huge jump.
I couldn't agree with you more, and had this budget,
But
had this,
right.
go ahead, I'm sorry, John.
Just to clarify, I think what happens is you see in the last 2 years, that was based on half of someone role, and most of that role that I used to do was clerk role, not deputy treasurer role. So my budget moved into that full-time person's role, and then we have to top it off. So it's actually, you're comparing apples and oranges, unfortunately. It's a full-time role, not a part-time role.
And what you said, Walter, is exactly right. Had things went up incrementally, we would have something like this. Had the budgets or had the tax, we ignored the tax cap and just did it according to inflation, us and other villages and towns wouldn't be in this position.
She was paid out at different lines, that's what they're not seeing.
Right.
Can I ask just a point of clarification?
Who's first? Name and address for the record, please.
Jeff Hanson at 91 Weaver. Not to parrot about what Walt was just saying, but Mr. Wilbur's held up a fairly large bunch of papers. Is the village considering like automating some of this stuff? It seems like we're still using paper and typewriters to do it, to kind of cut down on the hours, maybe to alleviate some of these extra positions that we have.
It would probably alleviate some of the overtime that they have to work. That's probably what it would alleviate. It would, in my opinion, it wouldn't alleviate the amount of hours that they both spend in the office.
Or position.
And
It's not going to alleviate a position.
It won't
Well, I'm not
alleviate
saying it cut the
And
position.
also,
I'm saying
Will brought up a good point.
it
about
seems like
checks
a lot
and
of
balances.
work for one or two people, but I don't know how efficient they are. I'm not saying personally, but if certain municipalities have computer automated systems and we don't, it might be a worthy investment to hire a company to come in and say, what can we do to automate it to take the workload off of some of the individuals as opposed to.
We're working on that.
The issue is they have to run the day-to-day.
Correct.
So they can't give up, so there's always that conflict. It's not like you can shut it down, do an upgrade. The system they have is upgradable, isn't that correct? It's just finding the correct time, and sooner than later, I think, is their plan.
So it's a two-step process. We have to update our servers before we could update our systems. So we have to do that next year in June. We just haven't had the time to do it right now, but we know where we want to go. There's room for automation in many things. Thank you for asking those.
You're welcome. Very good point, Jeff. Very good point.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to clarify, just based on this really helpful handout, thank you for including this. I found this online last, for like previous year, the benefit schedule of wages. The deputy treasurer and the treasurer positions are now 40 hours a week. And so if I understand correctly, we're going from a previous deputy treasurer position that was at 0.25% based on the rate.
It was pretty,
So it was a quarter person.
even probably less of the time that I would
And now we're
spend
doing a
helping
full-time.
them.
Okay.
Yeah, that
And
made a
just
huge
as-
difference.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And another clarification, and maybe this is off topic for this meeting, but I understood that there were 2 trustees that were currently assigned to be in some kind of an audit committee of some sort that are working with the treasurer, and I guess I do not disagree, this is a lot of work for one person, and we do need to have a fail-safe when it comes to money. But I guess I understood that the trustees that are on that audit committee were taking up a larger role in terms of taking care of those checks and balances that were just described to us.
Well, that was in addition to what they were doing.
So
There's
there's
the
two,
audit committee, they're the ones that sign the checks, like I was trying
No,
to
no,
go
no.
to the website and see who's on it, but.
I could give a quick tutorial. right? So our role is to take in all the POs from all the department heads, right? Process them and then give it to the auditors. The auditor's role, per New York State controls, if we all took the training, they have to audit. You can't have the person signing the check, doing the POs. You can't have the person signing the POs, signing the check, and things like that. So you have two trustees who are responsible to review all the POs, look at the checks and balances on top of what we already do, right? That's just part of the role. And then the person who signs the check has to be an individual. So there's a third person who signs the check. So there's 3 trustees involved in those checks and balances. There's a lot more that goes behind on the QC process.
Okay.
Does that help you?
It does.
Okay, moving on to the clerk section. Any questions on that?
If I could ask the same question again about the number of people, and I actually went back to the newspaper article from last year where it was described that there was a part-time clerk and treasurer were the same person. And I guess I did have a question about the amount of part-time, it's included on the next page. But first, so we're going from a village clerk that was a full-time position to a village clerk that was a full-time position year over year. And is that the same for the deputy clerk? Was the deputy clerk a full-time position last year?
The deputy clerk was, so I don't know if anyone recalls, but there was an individual, I'm not going to get into details, because it's HIPAA, an individual who had left for personal reasons. Tina was the deputy clerk, that other person was the full-time clerk. Tina took on the role of the full-time clerk, and then now we have another person who took on the role for her. So it's not incremental.
Okay, and the deputy clerk role before that Tina held, was that the entire responsibility, or was Tina covered under a separate line also last year?
She was covered under the same line as the clerk last year.
Okay,
So eventually,
So it was a
I don't know
full-time
when
last
you
year,
guys had
full-time this
voted.
year.
It was a full-time position as a clerk, and then, excuse me, as a deputy clerk, and then she took on the responsibilities of full-time clerk.
And we've maintained that second full-time position. Okay, thank you.
Moving on to the law section. Any questions on that? The engineer, any questions on that? Elections, any questions on elections? Board of Ethics, any questions on that? Shared Services, any questions on that? Special items, liability insurance, municipal association dues, payroll fees, MTA community tax, contingency, and what Billy's doing up there, filming our meetings. Any questions on that?
The liability insurance, is there an estimate? Yeah. Ron, is the liability insurance an estimate, or do you have renewals yet?
So we have renewals coming in soon. We haven't gone to renewal, but we
Right.
raised it based on the percent we told. And that's what we did. During this time last year, we did the same thing. They
Right.
told us to stay within a certain range.
Projected an increase? Good, thank you.
And can I just also add 2 things real quick, because I'm sure people are gonna ask. The municipality association dues, it's NICOM, it's the dues for all the trustees who are participating in NICOM. It's, the clerk participates in a association, so this way we can share best practices across. The treasurer's office also does that. And we have, I always say the acronym wrong, but the dinners that each municipality hosts, we pay $100 towards that association as well. But I think that's something that we've lowered from 4,000 to 3,800. Again, and so I wanted to share that. So we are continuing to look at places we can tweak. The next one is payroll fees. It's 20,000. I'm looking to see if I can negotiate something down that I'm not utilizing from the payroll system, so we can bring that down too. Oh, and the acquisition marketing, sorry. I do want to highlight on acquisition marketing, one of the reasons why it went up, remember last year we had to utilize them for the New York Forward. New York's Forward's probably going to pick up late April, early May, so we have to encompass for that, because last year we went over budget on that one. Okay?
Thank you, Debbie. And going along with what Debbie was saying about these towns and villages dinners, I was like, oh, you just don't have a good time? hearing aids kind of make me talk lower. The New York Forward, I'm not the New York, these towns and villages dinners, I was like, what, are we just going to have a good time having dinner? I was amazed on the amount of connections that these folks at Tina made, and then got furniture for close to nothing, from donations from the county. We make a lot of connections, a lot of people I call, a lot of advice I got from other people, other mayors, other supervisors, things I don't know. So these little dinners really paid off. I don't go to all of them, but we do make connections. Yeah,
I'm sorry, this is another large contractual item. I was curious what that $30,000 is for, under shared services?
you mean you're talking about under contingency?
No, the shared services contractual line.
Oh, we'll go back, okay, third. Where's that, the 30,000? That's the lease printers and other things.
It also includes Time Warner, Dell, Verizon, and there's like plant equipment that has to be used, plant equipment that has to be utilized from a phone perspective. You know, we have emergency phone lines, Jake can attest to that are in those plants as well, so it's a combination. Does that help for you?
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Again, on shared services, could you explain the personal services line? Is that an employee, or is that when we go, truck drivers might go with the town of Montgomery because they need to use? It's always been my understanding that that type of thing is, there's no payment for, say, a Montgomery dump truck going to the town of Montgomery, that everybody works together on that. So I'm curious, is that on a personal service line of $55,000, what exactly is that?
That's for the painter, the cleaner that cleans this building, for the painter we have, and the $4,000 underneath that is the cover for DPW when the painter or the cleaner is not available.
So why is that on the shared services then? Why is that not part of the DPW line?
Because it's at different facilities, Don. Those painters and
Well, you
cleaners.
mentioned a lot of different things that that person does. And,
No, it's
say
just,
painter and all
it's
that.
no, it's two different people. One is a painter, who's a part-time painter and almost seasonal, right? Because they don't paint in the winter pretty much. And the other person is a cleaner, and they clean all facilities, including down here and up there.
So why is it under the term shared services?
Because all the departments are shared.
Don't say that.
Different departments.
They're shared between departments, so it wouldn't be appropriate to put it under one department cost center.
You're getting practice, Steve. You'll be up here. Okay, moving to special items. Oh, where am I? Okay,
Police department.
we're up to the police department now. Joe, you want to do, I'm sorry, yes, presentation, Joe? Am I speaking loud enough? I'm sorry.
Is there a question back there on the police?
I do.
You want to wait till after the chief does his thing?
I got a presentation for you guys.
See, they miss them, hand them out, take a share. I'll split it into two. You might have to share.
Everyone got one?
Yeah, there's a test at the end, so please pay attention. All right, so this is just to help break down how we budget at the PD. It's done a little different in other places. We have a variable budget, so we can't exactly budget, especially the personnel, down to the penny. So if you look at the first page I gave you there, where it says goal, so we budget by hours. We have full-time staff, part-time staff. The goal, there is 365 days a year, 24 hours in a day. The goal is to have 2 officers on every hour of every day. So if you take 365, you multiply that by 24, you end up with 8,760 hours in a year. Again, multiply that by 2 to show that we have 2-man coverage every single day of every hour, or every hour of every day. You get to 17,520 hours. So that's our goal of what we need to cover to make sure the village is properly protected and getting the best service that it possibly can. If you go to the second page there, this is the breakdown of the part-time staff. It's going to start with the 2024-2025 proposed budget, which we had 12 part-time officers. During the budget process, 2 of those positions were eliminated, which left us with 10 part-time officers, which we then need to redistribute those hours that they were supposed to cover amongst the remaining 10. So then we have 810 hours per officer, which you see at the bottom there, that's going to equal 8,100 hours. Now, over the course of this budget season, 24-25 season, we've converted one of those part-time positions into the part-time investigator. And we've also converted one of those, well, did not convert the position, but we took one of our part-timers and filled one of our open full-time spots. So now we're down to 8 part-timers. So again, if you redistribute those 1,620 hours amongst the remaining 8 part-time officers we have, it ends up around 1,012.5 hours per part-time in order to cover what was needed in the prior budget. This year, we're asking for 975 hours per part-timer, which is going to get to 7,800 hours. Important number, we'll go back to that. All right, if you go to the next page where we have the full-time breakdown. We haven't budgeted, since I've been here, we've been budgeted for 5 full-time officers. At the beginning of the fiscal year, we were budgeted for 1 full-time sergeant, 4 full-time patrolmen, which is going to equal, for every officer, works 1,944 hours. Now this part is going to also include the command staff, which was the part-time sergeant that we had, and the part-time chief. So we have 9,720 hours for every single full-timer that works. Again, during this fiscal year, we converted the part-time chief position to a full-time position. We eliminated the part-time sergeant position, and we converted one of the full-time patrol positions to a sergeant position. And like I said, in the part-timer section, we made 1 part-time filling the open full-time spot, which is that dark blue. I think I gave everyone color, yeah. The green position is still open, but we still account for that for hours as far as coverage goes. The final line is what we are asking for in this budget. So when you take that 7,800 that we had from the part-timers being able to cover, add that to the 9,720 hours, you get to that 17,520 hours, which is what's required for us to cover every day, every hour, with 2 officers. And then the next couple of pages is just the breakdown of the salaries, what it costs for the full-time staff, what it costs for the part-time, and then our additional resources such as the SRO, investigator, court traffic person, per diems, if we need those, that's for like GMD and such. And then shift differentials, which doesn't change because it's actually $1.30 per season and such. And that's a breakdown for now. Anyone else? I'm sure there's going to be questions.
Thank you, Bill. And like I said, my #1 thing here is the safety of the people who live in this municipality. And I think that's shown every day. It's like Jake's job too. Go ahead, Mark. Go ahead.
I just have a question. What happens when you have somebody out sick? You have to have another officer cover and they get overtime for the coverage? Is that kind of...
So it depends. If we're able to cover that with a part-time officer, then it's not overtime. This past fiscal year, we did have one of the full-time officers leave. So then that opened up a lot of open shifts, which if the part-timers can't cover, generally we try to have 2 on, but the minimum technically is 1. So in the event that we can't cover with at least 1 person, it does have to go to overtime, which has been an issue this year because of the vacant full-time spot that we have. What was the question?
How many hours of the part-time officer?
It depends on the year, depends on when they're able to work. So, if, you know, I have certain guys that they can do Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Oh, so they could do an 8-hour shift? It's not like they're doing 4-hour shifts?
No, they cover, I mean, they come in for events and stuff, so for the events it's 4 hours, they'll cover that. But, you know, so their supplemental coverage basically for full-time staff.
Okay, so the police line budget, we all know went up a lot, $220,000. Personal services went up just a little bit under $200,000. I have no problem with our police officers. I think Joe's going to make a tremendous chief. I think that was a great job. The one problem I have with the whole thing was, and earlier today, Mr. Mayor, you stated that you've been working on this budget for about 2 months. And then the meeting, the last board meeting we had 2 weeks ago, knowing you worked on a budget for 2 months, what was your rationale to appoint large pay increases, hire another officer, when knowing that this budget was a skyrocketing budget? What sense did that make? Why didn't you think and just say, can we crawl this stuff in, rather than bang it in one spot into this budget? This is a huge increase in this police line. Normally, when I talk about the police line at budget meetings all these years, generally speaking, the police budget would go up somewhere between $40,000 to $50,000, and I used to complain about that because it just didn't make sense to me, because they'd always be under budget, but they'd always ask for more money. But here you had a meeting, knowing the time you have put in with some of your board members, I guess, to establish a budget, and you increase that police line, salary line, by $200,000. And at that one meeting 2 weeks ago, you hired an officer and you gave major pay increases to 2 officers. Why didn't you do that over time?
Explain to me where I gave major increases. They have contractual. We made 2 sergeants.
You made 2 sergeants, there's your increase right there.
Those 2 sergeants.
That's your increase.
Can I talk, please?
You asked me a question, I'm trying to answer.
No, you asked me a question, I'm answering you. We made 2 sergeants. They would get 15% above the patrolman. They're both getting 7.5% above the patrolman. We hired a police officer to transfer from the village of Walden to the village of Montgomery. He is the kind of guy you want to come to your house. He's not a brand new cop coming off the police officer getting out of the academy. This is the experience. This is what you get. This is what keeps this village safe. People are willing to pay that. Maybe you have a problem with that. I don't, as a resident, have a problem with making sure that this village is safe. And I'm willing to pay for that. I'm willing to pay for that. Now, as the mayor here, folks have got the right to speak on that. But people do move to this village because we welcome them all in, 625 in the last 6 years. And the #1 thing they moved here is for safety. And I'm not letting that go down.
Okay, and I've also, through the course of years, you always talk about people moving in here, but you never talk about the people moving out.
Yes, I
Because
did.
it's a match.
Yes, I did.
You never do it.
I remember us having this conversation, and you said people move out. The reason they move out is because of New York State, not the village of Montgomery. Thank you. Yes,
Also,
Well, you didn't answer my question.
I did. The reason they move out is because of New York State.
This is not, I asked you why you didn't do it over time.
Don, we get to look at the budget once a year, and there was a lot of work that was put in, there was a lot of deliberation, and that's why Joe put together the presentation he did. So if you don't do it now at budget time, you can't do it throughout the rest of the year because you can't change the budget once it's set. It was one of those situations where, when we looked at the recommendation, it had to be included in this year's budget, or what?
Why did it have to be included? Okay.
Because of what he just went through and explained with
That
what
doesn't
happened.
explain why it had to be included.
If I may, so the three main reasons we have for the budget going up as it is again, the contractual raises. We do have a lot of multiple officers that are hitting the top step of their contract, so that's a significant bump, and that's just straight contractual. And again, last year when we converted the part-time position to the investigator position, the investigator doesn't cover shifts. I can tell you he's working nonstop right now because we have cases going on that he's investigating. So that is now a separate line for him, and it's not included in that $17,520 that I said before. Yeah, and then the third reason is in the prior budget, we were cut a certain amount of those hours. So that's also being included in this. That is making up a decent portion of that as well.
So that's nice. It's nice, but it strikes me what the mayor stated in his explanation that he's okay with it. But what about the public and the residents that live here? That it's in, we have people, a lot of people, on a fixed income, Social Security, that simply can't afford this type of raise. Do you take that in consideration?
I'll refer that to the board. I make up the budget of what we need to cover the village, and it's up to them to.
You look at this room right here, right now.
We're looking for a budget. We need to argue. We need to move on. We need to move on here, okay? We need to move on. Martin, your turn, please.
I just have a question for the police chief about, I'll wait till they're done. Are you guys done? Okay. I just have a question on the let's say there's a catastrophe, and you have a lot of overtime. How do we cover that in the budget? Like, like there's a tornado, when something happens.
Well, he has the hours built into his budget.
Okay, because I wanted to make sure, because, I want to make sure that we have it in the budget, that if there's something that happens and you guys have to be there, putting in a lot of overtime for whatever the situation is, that we have it in the budget so that we're not.
Yeah, because you raised the overtime.
The overtime went up from last year. We are, and so we have an overtime budget to be able to cover for, events. Obviously, there's a lot of meeting events, so we do cover for stuff like that. But in the event of like an emergency as well, obviously we're covering for that, but we can also pull resources in from elsewhere as well. So it's not like, if a tornado comes through like it did, what was it, a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
That was like right through my obviously there's other agencies that are come and help. It's not like we're just going to be left alone and go out to Montgomery and have fun. So.
Well, that's you hit on something I was going to say. We'll move on to later on that.
But can I just say, would the county reimburse us if it was like really something that was really bad? Would they come in?
I don't know.
I'm just saying, I want to make sure that we're covered if something happens and there's a lot of overtime.
So this is the best guesstimation you have. And he's raised that part-time.
Okay. I'm not complaining, I'm
just answering your question.
I'm not.
Is it safe to say that every budget, or every department's budget tries to accommodate for every possible scenario?
Absolutely.
Because this is their one chance to get money put into their budget. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to spend every last dime of it. We'd like to think that everybody we have is frugal and understands the situation we're in. But if they don't ask for or make allowances for overtime or catastrophes or equipment breakdowns, then the money isn't there to do the job, which is why some of these budgets have gone up. They're making the appropriate allowances for the unexpected.
Thank you.
First of all, I want to say that I really appreciate that we have so many full-time police officers in this village. I think that full-time police officers saves the village money long-term because we're not constantly training and then releasing officers to other municipalities like the town of Montgomery does.
Like the city of Newburgh does. They were training them and they were leaving.
My question is, I'm not a labor expert, but I understand that these are union negotiated rates. But I had a question about the sergeants because they personally negotiated a 7.5% increase, which seems like it's outside of their collective bargaining agreements. And I'm wondering if that is actually appropriate. Because I understand that they did a great gesture to split the 15% increase between the two, but it seems to me that that might be in violation of the police contract. And again, I am not a labor expert, but that was something that struck me last time during the meeting, and I've just been thinking about it ever since, and I don't have an answer for it.
That's going to be a matter between the PBA and the village.
So
It's
in a
been,
collective bargaining agreement, it's okay for two people to go ahead and just bargain on their own?
when there are negotiated matters that deviate from the collective bargaining agreement, a separate MOA is prepared. And if all parties sign off on it, then that's that.
Okay, and is that important, I assume?
That's
I
something
did ask
we're-
on that before it was done, I did ask on that. Good point.
That's something we're working.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to ask about is I understand the intent to have a certain number of hours of coverage, 24 hours a day, staffed. I would ask, as you are evaluating and negotiating this budget further, if we really need to have 8 part-time police officers at this level, when we are also covered by the town of Montgomery, we're also covered by Orange County, we're also covered by 2 very nearby state trooper barracks. So I would ask if there are times during the day where there might be some efficiencies between, a little bit of an understanding between those forces, just to kind of, maybe there's a slow time for crime in Montgomery, I don't know. Maybe there's a time that we statistically can tell that there is no emergencies. And I'm saying that because that's what the town asked the ambulance corps to do. They asked us to evaluate when to put staffing on for paramedics. And that's what we had to do in order to make our budget. And so I'm just offering that as a solution to this large ticket increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on. State your name and address.
Margaret Blissigo, Walkill Avenue. I really appreciate your presentation, Chief. It was very helpful. And I understand that you want to make the police force do as good a job as you possibly can. What I don't understand still, though, is that the personal services item went up almost 26% from last year to this year. Our mayor says that people have been moving for years into our village because it's so safe. And so I don't understand why it needed a 25% bump to make it safer. What really is that? Why? 25% is a huge amount. And were we 25% less safe last year or this past year? So that's what I would ask you to explain. And I understand that there are some officers that bumped up and that increased salaries, but 25%.
Go ahead, Joe.
So, I mean, I would just refer to what I said before about the 3 main reasons why it's going up. A lot of that is contractual. The other thing is that we did convert that part-time position to a part-time investigator, which makes up, $35,000 of that increase. And again, in the prior fiscal year, there were hours that were cut that, we had a lot of solo patrols this year. We were having, well, we did do 2 things, but while it makes sense, obviously, to have one person on a budget standpoint, it's not the best for safety. Because when we have one person, and to go back to Karina, when we have one person and we need to rely on another agency, it's not that the agency won't help us, but if they're doing something else, then they need to either stop what they're doing and come help us, or, the town of Montgomery is a large jurisdiction. We're talking maybe 10 minutes away is the closest help if we're dealing with an emergency. So as far as, why it's going up that much, again, a lot of it is the contractual raises that are going up, and that part-time investigator position.
Mike?
Stephen Browning, 61 Weaver Street. I really appreciate your presentation. You did it so well. I'm not wondering if anybody caught that he cut like 300 hours out of overtime and part-time, and the full-time positions in the long run that will make up a difference quickly. I wanted to step that out. Sorry.
Thanks. Moving on to Park and Recreation. Park and Recreation. Safety inspection. Any questions on that? Registrar of Vital Statistics. Drug abuse DARE program.
Do you want to highlight the 5,000? There, of
Oh,
personal
there.
services?
Street department. Any questions on that?
Mark's got a question.
I'm sorry, Mark, on which one? Street
This is
department?
actually with Jake with you used to, when I first moved here, you did tar and chip, you put tar down and chip, and that stuff was like unbelievable, hold up forever. And then I noticed you started doing blacktop on some of the streets. Is the tar and chip cheaper?
Tar and chip's a lot cheaper. Hard chip is just a sealer. Once you blacktop a road, you let it sit for, I believe it's actually like 5 years, and then yes, that's what we tar and chip it.
Okay.
In the past, we got a lot of complaints about using tar and chip, so we stopped doing it for a while.
Well, I'm not one complaining, but I used to
I
think.
believe I'm planning on bringing it back.
Yeah, I mean, once it got settled in, that road was, you used to do it on Goodwill, and then all of a sudden we paved it, and I was thinking like, that's a lot more, I'm more money to call it blacktop. So I mean, if you're looking to save money, I guess, as a resident, my suggestion would be go back to tar and chip.
Are water line breaks covered in this line, or is it
No.
covered under the water budget?
Water line should have, water has its own line.
Okay, thank you.
Snow removal, any questions on snow removal? Street lighting? Sidewalk maintenance?
There's a question in the back.
So I noticed this year we cut back to 5,000, and I know we don't have any big projects. I was wondering, are we planning on finishing that connection on Lloyd Street that we just kind of left hanging? Is that 5,000, or is there?
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah.
So why are we cutting that when it's part of an ongoing replacement
I
project?
had to make cut somewhere.
Steve, I want that more than you can imagine.
Well, it just didn't make sense that we stopped it and 100 yards later we started again.
To give you a little history here, going back to our former insurance man, Joe Newman, he came up to us probably about 7, 8 years ago. He said to me that this is exactly what he said, we could get sued because it's so narrow up around Roosevelt Avenue.
It's very dangerous.
Exactly. So we had the sidewalks put in. They were going for $159,000 to have them put in. DPW did it for $38,000. But we didn't have any more money to go from there on. So, I walk every single day, and now I'm walking, I'm going, I can't believe I was walking halfway out in the road here. Now we have the sidewalks. But that's it. Now you gotta go from where they end and run for your life to get back on there. And when you get in front of the post office, you cross the street and then come back. It's crazy. It's like you need brakes and tires, but worried about stereos sometimes. So we want the money to go there, but Jake doesn't have it right now. But I agree with you, and maybe when you're on the board, we can work for that. Okay, because my wife wants that more than I do.
Well, I was looking at the school kids. That's just a gauntlet.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm sorry, go ahead, Mark.
Are there any, can you look into grants, state grants for that? Because I live on Goodwill, and we're cut off from the village with sidewalks. We have no, I've lived there 32 years, no sidewalks.
And you know what, Mark, we are looking into grants, and people seem to think that grants just come. You have to pay for them. And when you pay for them and you don't get it, there's $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 that run away.
Yeah, I get it, and I also,
Yeah,
there's
so
matching
you get-
stuff.
I mean, you
But I'm
see
just-
we're running on the
Just trying to figure out a way to bring the money in.
Exactly. All right, where are we at, Parks and Recreation? Any questions on Parks and Recreation? Youth program. Tom, I believe you wanted to speak? Anyone want to speak?
Any questions?
Any questions? Any questions on youth program? Tom wanted to give a presentation like Joe did.
With just the 2 lines that are shown here, I don't know if anybody, or you people know that on the personal services and all of that, that strictly comes on the camp registration. It doesn't come from the village.
comes from the camp registration that I have to cover the salary of all the staff. On the other part, the contractual, that's what we get from the town. That covers the vendors, arts and crafts, equipment, sports equipment, and everything else, and right to the line. So it's not coming, you know, it's not from the village, it's what we get. And right now, that's all just estimated because we have the camp registration on the 26th. I estimate from last year's numbers what that is. If we don't get that, then all the salaries have to be readjusted after the 26th. Okay?
I just have a question on Campbell. Why are you putting this in the budget if we're getting it from other sources?
I can answer
Yeah,
that.
that,
if you want.
one second, I answer that question.
Yeah, any funding that we get from other sources, we have to put it in as a revenue, and then it's a wash on the expense side, just because they're on payroll, these are seasonal employees.
Right.
So we have to demonstrate that we got the money in from the town, and then when they utilize the money that came in, it'll be on the expense line.
So you get the money.
We get the money. He doesn't have to.
Right, no, I know that. I just didn't understand why it was listed
We
as,
have to
because
count
you're getting it from somebody
Still a
else.
village
Instead of
expenditure.
the village match.
It's a village
You have to have an
expenditure.
appropriation for every expenditure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was just wondering, I noticed the budget on all the other departments are much more broken down. Is there a reason that we don't break this budget down further? Like, are there contractual expenses? Is there time for Debbie, where I know like finance has a $7,000 cap for when they're due General Montgomery Day? Are there expenses that the administration come from the village that are used for camp? Or, because you can't tell from the line item. I was told it was a wash, but you can't really see that.
So if you look at the salary lines for the personal services line, on the salary form that's there on the table, where it breaks it up, it'll break up the different staff as well as the council, so you can see the differentiation.
But is there an overlap shared services like with the other ones? As
No.
far as so you don't process any other registrations?
The clerk processes the registration, and then I allocate it in the appropriate lines, and then we pay them, but I don't have a shared
Right,
cost.
so the
my-
camp isn't using the funds they raise to help
It
cover.
doesn't offset any cost of my role, no, not at this time.
Is it the only program that seems to be the only program that doesn't have to help pay shared expenses?
I have to get back to you to make sure. I want to say, yes, you're correct, but I want to double check. Is that okay? Question, take away from me. Yeah, there was another question now.
Yeah.
So do I understand correctly that you're expecting a 26% increase in registrants for the camp? Because there's a 26% increase in recreation staff. So does that mean that you expect a 26% increase in the number of children registering?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's saying, do you expect more children in the program to offset the 26% that went up?
Yeah, I guess I'm asking you to explain why is there a 26% increase in personal services?
And
Rates went up
44%.
They raised the cost of the
Budget increase over last year.
Expenses, you know, just,
But it's under personal services recreation staff. It was 100,000 and now it's 126,000. Just asking you to.
We
You're
had
asking
to-
if
we
there's
had
a
to-
projected increase in, or do we raise the fee?
organization, and just to be competitive with other camps.
We're raising salaries.
Yes.
Yes,
Registration.
yes.
I guess my follow-up would be, it's 44% increase in 3 years. Were we that far behind? Because we went from 79 to 125,000. It's a huge increase.
So Tom, let me answer that question. One of the things I found in the budget after scrutinizing everything was there was a line under Parks and Rec. It's still in the budget right now, but it's gonna be removed. So there is a salary line there that should be removed because it's already counted in the overall total. So once you see that, it'll look like it's less than the 5%. Yeah. So there's 5,000, I'll show you what line I'm talking about. If you look right above in the Parks and Rec, 71,400, 110. That 14,500 was counted twice. Wasn't paid twice, but it was counted twice. We're zeroing that one out. So that increase would decrease somewhat.
Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah, okay.
Any other questions?
The recreation director is included in Parks and Rec, but it's also included in this roll-up for the youth programs.
And I found that in the DARE professional services as well. Again, I've noticed this, we've been going through this over and over. That also is going to go down to zero because it's already part of those budget, the DARE personal services.
How many kids did you guys service last year?
We try to cap it at 150 children. We were up to about 165
So if we're capping.
per week.
Okay, if we cap the enrollment, how are we expecting a 25% increase? Are we raising rates that much?
Right.
So we're raising the card
No.
cost?
Just to be competitive with other kids.
I understood the salaries. I meant, you're saying the income has to come up as well, but if we're not raising the number of kids we're taking, how are we producing that income? That revenue?
By adjusting the registration fee. I did a little research. The average for a 6-week New York State summer camp, the average is from 3,000 to 6,000 in Orange County, New York State, for 6 weeks. For our 6 weeks, it's $775. We've kept it down quite a bit, and this year we had to raise it.
Is that average, sorry, back here, is that average that you found for like public day camps, you know, in municipalities or private camps?
Camps in general.
In general, because there's a big difference in
Right.
how much time you're open and all of that.
And it also depends on what's offered in the camp, the facilities, and everything else. But that's what the average, it was $3,000 to $6,000.
And this is still a village camp, right? So do village applicants get priority over ones from outside the village?
When we do registration, the first couple hours are for village and town residents only, and then after that, it's opened up to.
But my question was, are we bumping out village kids for kids from the town?
No, not a chance. Not a chance.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, move on to, library.
Library, Mike, I mentioned to you, and I mentioned to Darlene too, that stayed stagnant.
Keep it down just a little bit.
You know, that stayed the same as it was last year.
Right.
And, you know, again, you know, with the Randall Classical Library System raising their rates and those type of things, I really think you should, you know, as you fine tune the budget, you should, if you do find some savings somewhere else, is you can give the library more money and incrementally give them more money every year instead of having it stagnant. That's my personal opinion.
I share that with you. Any
Actually,
questions
I
on the
think
library?
I would like to reinforce that. I'm pretty worried about our village library, to be honest. I appreciate and support the tax district for the town to access the Walden Library, but their budgeting is impacted by that. And I understand it's an independent organization and the village is granting the village library money, and they're a separate nonprofit, not within the village's control, I understand. But I don't want us to become like the town of like the village of Maygrove, who doesn't have a library at all. They have a reading room, they've opted out of our CLS, and people who live in the village of Maygrove can't even get a library card. They can't go to Walden, they can maybe go to Newburgh, like they're granted permission to go to Newburgh to that library. And I don't want, as a village resident, I do not want to become like that, so I don't know what that means, if that means negotiating with the library to ask them to coordinate in greater detail with the town and the Village of Walden Library, but we need to, As a village resident, I would like to see some advocacy from the board to support my ability to maintain a library card to the RCLS system. Thank you.
Let me agree with you more. Museum. Any questions on the museum?
Before I go to my question on the museum, thank you to the chief, that was great, and the presentation, and for the parks, that was great. I also want to say, I didn't mention before, for the record, I think a lot of people feel that this public hearing should be left open after this meeting. There should definitely be a vote to have it left open. Specifically on the museum, I have one budget here that says it was $52.98 last year and $5,000 this year, but this other paperwork says $4,000 this year. Can someone quantify that, please?
I can, because they're just starting. So they're not gonna get the same, the person who's been there longer, okay, they get 5,000. The new person walking in is only getting 4. Just like Jake's not making Buddy's salary, that's how it's going. You work in increments.
Fair, that's fair for the storeroom, and we're doing away with the part-time employee?
Yes.
Part-time clerk?
So, can I just clarify, the part-time employee was the budget line that Brian Fitzpatrick had requested last year, he did not utilize it. So that's why we did away with it. That was talked to with him, and so he's up for it.
Fair enough. My last comment on this, like Karina said for the library, and like Kevin said for the library, something like the library should be going up, even if it's a small amount incrementally each year, so we can show that we appreciate that. Same with the museum. Our whole village is based on, of course, the safety, but the historical charm. Whether we have a store or people move in here, they don't move in here for, the biggest reason for a lot of things is the safety and the historical impact. If we don't preserve that, if we don't show that we appreciate that and invest in that, then that's going to go away. So I just want to make a comment that, for the record, like the library, that should be going up small amounts each year to show that it's important.
And that's excellent. That's an excellent point. With the COVID money that we had here, the COVID money, we gave $93,000 to DPW, $7,000 to the library. They deserve a lot more than that. The museum, we have to preserve our history here. Every new person that moves into this village, and we go and knock on the door and welcome you, gets a book about the village of Montgomery. So I agree with you on that. Moving right along, celebrations. Any questions on celebrations? Program for the age, anything on that? Where are we going back? What's one?
Celebrations, can you just explain what celebrations means?
All right, celebrations is like the flags that we hand down in the corner, Memorial and Veterans Day.
Oh, okay.
Purchase for that. Like that, the GJ, the food, for Memorial Day. Now, Memorial Day, again, municipalities are starting to do away with that. Kingston's one of them. Not here. It's not happening. We're not doing away with Memorial Day. We're not doing away with Veterans Day. Period. So, on Memorial Day, Veterans Day, you'll find me, board members, my family, standing there handing out flags. We need to remember that.
That doesn't include the music in the, what's that thing called?
No, that's all donations.
Bandstand, sorry.
That's donations, that doesn't.
And like, first responders corner down there, the flags up there, we have new flags coming out, that comes out of here. The flags up and down Goodwill Road by Veterans Corners, they're paid for by the American Legion, and they will be replaced. Mary Pryor had mentioned that to me, and I contacted American Legion, they already have it set. The flags that are there right now, they're a little weathered. I'm waiting for the season to get over, and then I'm going to replace it with new flags.
Yeah, thank you. I see that every day when I got me, I live in that corner, so that little light helps me get home.
I'm sure it's accounted for somewhere else, and I'm sure it's not being canceled, but can someone just explain the General Montgomery Day not being on here in this section?
Money has to go through the Orange County Foundation.
It doesn't go through the village anymore.
It's not, it's donations.
So we go through the foundation on that.
Fundraiser.
The Community Foundation of Orange and Sullivan. It's a nonprofit
Right.
umbrella fund, yes.
Unfortunately, the Fireman's Museum comes out of this. We were donating $1,000, and I still would do it. However, we were told we cannot do this anymore by law. We cannot donate to the Fireman's Museum.
I'm sorry, if you could just clarify, that's really helpful, I was wondering about that, but if the recreation funds have to, so does the village doesn't handle any of the Montgomery Day funds at all anymore, and that's why it's not flowing through this budget from the revenue sheet to the budget sheet?
So, and we'll probably could attest, with regards to the general Montgomery Day, there's a lot of, it's supposed to be a wash. The difference is, if there's fundraising happening as employees, we're not allowed to fundraise. Where historically, that I personally wasn't aware of it, but Will, if you want to add to that?
I guess my question is that the recreation money flows through from the revenue sheet through to this budget line, but we're not calculating for general Montgomery Day the same way, like the
No, we're not.
grant from the fundraising
No,
through?
the way it was set up, historically, the village was soliciting donations, and it's not appropriate for municipalities to directly solicit donations. What is appropriate, and why the Orange Community Foundation is set up for this type of purpose, is monies can be sent. We have an account. We have a separate account with the Community Foundation, a separate line with them, where the monies are being sent, and when the bills come in for General Montgomery Day, they're actually paid. They're issued, the checks are issued from an account from the Community Foundation. This way it's perfectly legal.
Okay, thank you.
So adding to what they have just mentioned, I noticed that there's not only General Montgomery Day, but there's other items like basketball personal services, Chambers concerts, Park and Rec concerts, things like that. Are they all going through the Orange Sullivan Foundation?
So anything where there's fundraising, that's going, so the concerts are fundraising. If we ever do the chambers here in the senior center, thank you, my mic is on. Yes, that would go to fundraising and things like that. The basketball was a different issue. The basketball was, it's a privately managed program that historically was managed out of here, and it shouldn't have been. So Will gave us input that they are not employees, and unfortunately, it means that she has to make a decision, or he, whoever takes that program over, will they find another location that would sponsor them? Because two issues had. One, we were paying them as employees, and then two, with regards to the insurance, we were putting them under our insurance. If God forbid something happened, we're not allowed to do it. So the two things combined, unfortunately, had a negative impact. Now, it's up to whoever's in charge of that program, if they're going to continue to manage it, because it's privately owned. That's something that they have to decide, because it wasn't even in our facilities, which made it worse. Will, do you want to add? It was in the school. So it's privately managed. The basketball was privately managed, and it was managed at another facility, which is not even ours. So Will has given us
the distinction we could draw is that the basketball was a privately run program as opposed to the village summer camp. Summer camp is run, but it's a village program. Much like we're in the middle of doing a contract with Little League right now. Little League is a private organization. They use the village field, so we're entering into a contract with them. So that's the distinction of that.
Okay, so to your point, Montgomery Day and the other ones, no village employee will be managing that fund. So it's strictly through the Orange Sullivan Group and the committee. The
I'm sorry,
Montgomery
finish
Day
your question.
is handling all that.
There's coordination. The village is coordinating the General Montgomery Day programs. However, the funding is being run through the Community Foundation. So there's still village staff that handles portions of Montgomery. Part of their, some folks in the office, part of their duties is dealing with Montgomery Day stuff. The money is going to the community foundation and flowing out. Some of these programs, they're budgeted, there's some village money that's budgeted for them. For those are being handled through here because there's no fundraising. Certain allocations you're allowed to do for celebrations.
So then how do you handle, to your point, what you just said, as far as village employees like police, DPW, how is that managed because they gotta get paid? Who's paying?
They're getting paid their normal salaries. If there's overtime allocated for any of these events, that's going to be up to the chief and his overtime budget.
Okay, so the village is handling those fees and then charging back to the.
They're handling the normal services that the village would handle for anything, such as police services, roadblocks, sanitation, those types of things. Those are handled through village normal salaries.
Mr. Berger, if you want more information on that, if you go online, there's actually a paper by the Tug Hill Commission, which took a lot of these obscure municipal laws from the Department of State and NICOM and put them in a nice, easy-to-read format. If you look up municipal gifting and funding, it makes this a little bit clearer. So I know I had some questions early on about how things were funded and why certain things were certain ways. It makes it very easy to understand and gives you some case studies.
There seems to be a lot of parts in it, and it's going to the Orange Sullivan Foundation. There's a lot of parts.
So when you read that, though, it'll make perfect sense.
Okay, thanks.
You can also go to the Community Foundation's website, and that'll explain some of how they work.
Moving on, programs for the aged. Any questions on that? Zoning board?
I'm sorry, I was curious what the contractual senior contribution line is
Which one, where were we?
on program for the aged.
I'm sorry.
The 19,300.
Okay. Your question?
I just didn't know what that was. Everything else was very self-explanatory.
That's with the 19, you mean, which one are you talking about? The 19th grade?
Correct, yes.
That's the village contribution to the senior center.
Supplies, anything.
Okay, so that's really the program. I mean, it was my understanding that the senior center was entirely run by the village right now. So that's really the programming piece.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I have no question.
Just one person in the back.
Yeah, so just following up on that $19,000 used to be used to pay the director, and now it's being used for something else. Can you explain what that difference is, since we have a director that's being paid directly by the village now?
The $19,300 is being given to the former advisory board, for them to distribute from there.
To
The
pay for the
advisory board
director.
is not employed by the village anymore, and the $19,300 will come directly here. That will go funding used for the senior center. So there's no advisory board, it's coming directly here. We're not getting anything, or it doesn't appear, we're getting anything from the town. So we're running this on our own, and still inviting people from the town to come in. Thank you. Yes, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Stacy Hillen, 301 East Searsville. The line is missing though for the town, for the contractual town amount, $15,000 that they give every year to the village. The town gives money every year to the village.
Not this year.
Why? Why wouldn't they give it this year?
We don't know.
Yeah, that's not what I was told. They've been giving it for years. For years, it's been coming to the village.
I know.
It's just never made your budget, but it comes through the village. It's made out to the village of Montgomery. So
I know.
it needs to be on.
We'll absorb it because we have a mission here.
Right. It was made out to the village.
Thank you.
No,
Any
it
other
wasn't.
questions?
You can't touch us. It was made out to the village of Montgomery.
Moving on to zoning board of appeals. Any questions on zoning board of appeals?
No, I said.
Planning board. Folks, please keep it down. Anything on the planning board? All right, folks, please. Historic board, anything on that? Refuse and garbage, any questions on that? Yeah.
What's the status of the carpet in these garbage?
Steve, you can be up here doing this.
Okay.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
What's the status of the new garbage truck? Is that in there already?
No, it's not. The, actually, the back on the bottom, the repairs to, the equipment, that's the garbage truck. It's on its last leg, so we just, that thing's on life support. No, it's not in there yet.
Are we in the process of writing a grant for that?
Jay, could you please answer that?
No, we're gonna take out a bond.
Thank you. Anything else?
I have a question about the bond. Should the bond then be included? Is there a place where we're including anticipated bonds on a statement of debt or something like that?
That's on that other
It has,
thing, right, Debbie?
no, anticipated she's asking about. The statement of debt has the current 5 bonds.
Right.
Two of them just finished September and October. Another one's finishing next March. That's the final payment. And we're hoping that once that bond is taken out, also with the equipment lines that are in Jake's budget lines, the different ones, that'll help cover the cost of the anticipated bond for the truck.
Okay, so the water storage tank bond, when that's paid off, we will just roll in a truck bond.
That with the ones that just finished as well. We had 2 to finish September and October that were part of this year's debt schedule. And that was the heating system. So on the sheet that you don't see it, but
Yeah, I remember it from last year.
Shade trees, any questions on that? Moving along to employee benefits, any questions on that?
I have a question on the
Yes.
shade trees. What does that cover exactly? Is it just the cherry trees on Clinton and side roads? Shade trees.
What is that, is that a tree replacement program? Yeah.
I can cover you, Jake. I can cover you on that.
I do remember this.
So the shade trees cover the trimming of the trees, but also, God forbid, there was a tree from the village that fell onto somebody's property and has to be cut, but it's our tree, not yours, then they'll cover the cost of that as well.
Does it include the replacement for the cherry trees? Because they go pretty quick.
So right now, I did not see any replacements in the historical. I went back to look if that was the case. Also with New York Forward, I think they're looking to do some of the replacement. So it's like a balancing act right now.
I was gonna mention that New York Ford, maybe we can get them to pay for it.
And they did mention it, so I don't know.
Thank you.
Thank you. What was that, employee benefits, we had no questions on that? Moving along to bonds, Debbie? You on that?
So right now, there's a sheet out on the table. I'm not sure if everybody took it. It was an independent sheet that has 5 bonds. Those are the current bonds. It also shows, what's the, I got it. The one page. I gave it to somebody else.
Yeah, Debbie, hold on.
I got it. I gave it to Joe, so it's being kind of given it back. So it's 5 bonds. There's the water filtration, the $450,000 by the end of the year. After we pay it, then it's due in February month. It'll be down to $335. The water improvement for Hopewell, we'll be paying that in January of next year. We just paid that bill. We paid the sewer improvement sludge as well in January. Land acquisition was the parking lot that's right behind Copperfield. That'll be paid this month on April 15th. I have to pay the interest and principal. That'll be down to $175. And then what you were saying, Karina, the water storage tank, the statutory installment bond, that'll be paid off next March. We just made one of the second to final payment. Any questions on that schedule?
Thank you, Debbie. Petty cash. Moving on to revenues, Debbie, the pilot fees.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
The pilot fees we discussed.
So, Village of Montgomery has park in lieu of taxes agreements with Montgomery Manor and Montgomery Housing, and they pay us on an annual basis, and we expect to get $32,950. And that, they also pay the town, they pay Valley Central, the fire department, and others. It is Orange County as well, but we only get the $32,950.
Did you go?
Mark had a question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mark.
I had a question on the bonds. I'm looking at the bond, the sheet for the bonds and the interest rates. Are we anticipating getting the same interest rates, or are they gone up?
Those interest rates are stable, they're fixed.
No, for the new bonds.
So that gets shopped around. We have to bid that out to the bond council, or we use another company that does financing that actually bids it out. And then hopefully, depending on what the rates are. Right now, I think the going rates are between 4.5% to 5%.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of similar to the sewer improvement and the other one. You know, years ago, I think the reason why you see some lower rates there, because those are the bonds taken out.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on this was brought to me by Debbie. We move on to the non-property tax distribution by the county, that's the sales
Question on the
tax.
revenue side?
Huh?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Question on the revenue?
Yeah.
Okay. Where in the revenue section here does traffic tickets and all that, what line does that go on?
That'll be under fines and forfeited bail.
That's what I thought. And
How far down is that, Debbie?
2610A.
Yeah, because we were going
It's
down.
almost
this
3/4 down.
Yeah, we were going down this thing.
Oh, I thought you went to the next page.
Yes, sir.
No, we're on page, what are we, 8 of 11. Or on the rest, Debbie just explained pilot.
Do you have a question on that though, Don? Don,
Can I finish?
do you want to answer? No, I'm saying, do you want to answer?
Yeah, so I noticed that on the fines and forfeitures, that the amount of money has dropped down quite a bit from last year. Why is that?
So I'm going to give my 2 cents, but I think the court, judge, and clerk should give that information. There's a combination of suspension, no suspension law that was put in place.
It's
Go
a
ahead.
combination of things, so we were backed up for COVID for a while, and so the bulk of that got done 23, 24, we switched prosecutors when Kevin Dow left and got Marcello in, so that helped speed it up. However, New York State in 2020 decided that we couldn't suspend people for not paying their, which, I mean, it's COVID, so we get that. But they also decided you should have minimum payments. Everyone can make a minimum payment. But they still have not reversed that no suspension if you don't pay. So if you play on your ticket, you get sentenced to a fine and surcharge. The DMVs do is put bill only, but you can't suspend.
Did we not anticipate that the prior year?
I can't speak to that. I don't project earnings. We report, we cannot.
And one more question to fines.
Yeah, sure.
We have parking tickets around here?
Yes, we actually just
There are parking.
reinstated them. Yep. They got new tickets. They had to wait to get the new tickets, I believe, the chief.
Oh,
We
so
kinda
they never
worked
had
on
it
that.
before, it's new?
No, they had run out, there was a problem, a case that got litigated, went to the appellate term, they had a big problem with the layout of the tickets, the New York, you know.
Yeah.
We had them.
Somebody argued and they won their case, and so that everyone had to revamp their tickets and get the ticket books and
Wasn't me.
revamp everything. And so they've been working on the tickets, I got the first 3 yesterday from the chief, and we have a QR code and a payment site, so we're working together to make sure that that QR code and the payment site gets put in the parking ticket, so that it's the least. Yeah, like you don't have to go to the car, you don't have to come in, and you pay this time. Also though, parking tickets, you don't pay your parking ticket unless you're in the city, nothing happens to you. You have to have 3 tickets within 18 months for the DMV to even maybe care about a parking ticket. They're not forceful suspendable either. So, it's a problem, and they really do need to, the whole judiciary is quite upset with the fact that they're letting all these people, yeah, you have all this money that's sitting there, I have file cabinets full of unpaid fines.
Really?
Yep. Yep.
Send the police out.
I know, right? You just need to reinstate that suspension thing, and that will pick right up, because the minute I send up some people for suspension, it's, oh, I forgot I had a ticket, and then it's like, oh, isn't that interesting?
Okay, thank you.
If I could follow, we can't send them to collections agencies? I got
No.
a, embarrassingly, 25 years ago, I got a speeding ticket in Washington State, and they sent that to collection agency very quickly, 25 years ago.
Nope, you cannot send it to the collection agency.
Rich, we
So-
have the legislation to change, and then we can expect.
Legislation, the minute it changes, yeah, I mean, they just literally went ahead and flicked the button and unsuspended everyone that was suspended in my door. So I still haven't had time to pull them out and move the files, because I'm hoping that they'll take that back. You have a question?
No, I have a question on, not for that, because that's good to know and get 3 tickets and not get.
Well, no. I just marking it, that's not cheating it.
I agree with everything Jessica's saying, it's great and all that stuff, but I will not be a mayor who runs the village on tickets. If a violation is committed, the officers have the discretion, but I'm not gonna have them out there handing out tickets, parking tickets and traffic tickets to increase revenue to balance our budget. You cannot do that. Justice is blind, they have the discretion, a crime is committed, whatever they make they do this. I will not balance their budget. That's a quarter. Yes,
Actually, the question I did have was on the bulk pickup, is that 2130A, is that the line for bulk pickups?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Do you want to just take questions, or you want to go through it? Maybe it's easier?
I'll take questions, go ahead. I can do it.
I don't know what's in this.
Any other questions here on this?
On page 8. Or do you,
Page 11.
do you want to go quickly through the big
No,
stuff?
I mean, it's quarter after 8, if somebody's got a question, they know what they're looking at.
You guys want me to go through really quickly? Okay. So omitted taxes was taken out of the budget from a revenue perspective because it's actually calculated when we get our taxes. The town gives us, like this year, I think we got 12,000, but the next year we may get 4,000. That's already calculated in the tax calculation. So that's why they told us don't put that as a goal. Interest and penalties, those are the fines. When people don't pay their taxes, we end up collecting it the following year, or when the town collects the tax, we'll get it, or Orange County, because if they don't pay when the town sends it out, then Orange County gets it back. Non-property tax is your sales tax. We're estimating anywhere between $740,000 and $760,000. I've checked with the county, and that's probably where we're gonna end. Utilities gross receipts tax, that's $40,000. You see it declining a little bit. We used to get a little bit more than that, but this has to do with Central Hudson. So Central Hudson pays the village anywhere between $35,000 to $38,000. The next one is Time Warner Cable, which is the franchise. I'm going to stop in a minute to get some questions on the first. I'm going to do bunches if that's okay. It's 53 taxes. That's when we've seen a precipitous decline, and that's because it's based on cable. So Time Warner Cable was the one who would send us the check. We're expecting something about $52,000 to $51,000. Last year, I think we only got 58, so it's continuing to have a very quick precipitous decline. Police fees, these are reports that we get from the police, so we get a revenue of $10 for each report that's pulled, so that's $150. Kept it flat because it's forecasting flat. Safety inspection fees, that's something that Bruce did. It's a, something that happens once in a while, so that's a fee from there. Other public safety is the searches. So when, let's say Hudson Search contacts us because they want to know about a house that's going up for sale, they'll do a search, we charge $100. I'm going to stop there to see if anybody has questions on that one. No?
I have a question. Is the village or the town in charge of internet franchises?
So my understanding, it's Orange County.
Okay.
Something I'm trying to find, who does it? It's not the town.
Okay.
Because then can we negotiate something better? There's an opportunity for revenues that we have to be creative about, something that we talked to with Randy and Mike and Darlene last year. I think this year we really got to stick our heels in the ground and start thinking about other revenues. The next one is registrar fees. It's a wash. We get charged $10, we pay $10. That's for the death certificates. That's all those who have passed in the village. Opening street fees, it's $500 for residential hookups. Right now, we don't have a lot of new development. Usually the ones who hook up stuff are the developers. Is that correct, Jake?
Yes.
Okay. Montgomery Day, you're gonna see the next few lines. Montgomery Day Car Show and Montgomery Day General Concessions, that's all moving to the foundation. So like we said before, you're gonna get revenues coming in, expenses going out. Now the foundation is handling the revenues coming in and the expenses going out. You got dog wash. You all hopefully have puppies. We have a dog wash, $10. Go down to DPW area and you'll see the dog wash there. The basketball program, they used to do registration. We were taking it in up to this year. That's something that person has to make a decision on. The basketball, I made a mistake. I think I need to increase it by 125 to match the expenses. But that's the summer rec registration fee. Zoning, we don't have zoning right now because there's a water moratorium. Planning fees. So there's a lot of questions around planning fees. When you got big projects coming in, the fees come in for planning. They pay the lawyer, they pay the engineers, and that offsets some of the cost of legal fees and engineering fees. And just so everybody knows, we did get the big dollars that were shared in, I don't know what meeting it was, but we did get the receipt of all those planning fees that were outstanding, which was good news. Refuse and garbage is the bulk, like we said. We don't have an election next year, so it's blank. School resource officer. School resource officer paid for a portion of one of the officers. The other portion is paid out of the police department budget. Youth recreation, the town. This is where the town contributes to us for the recreation center. So we have to collect that money, and then we manage the expenses going out. We don't give that money to Tom, it comes to us. He gives us the invoices and what he wants to order, and we pay it out. Interest and earnings, I have to look at that again to see if that's an adjustment that I need to make. Right now we have 6,000 in there. The next one, rental of properties. This is an area that we have an opportunity to increase revenue. Right now, we did try to increase it last year, it didn't work. I think we were also new, we were still learning, but here's an opportunity. Walden's charging people by the hour. Maybe this is an area for us to increase, but right now, I'm being a little conservative. I'm bringing it back down to what it was the last 2 years. Building permits. So building permits, like I said earlier, Bruce did a great job at managing building permits last year and COs. We got a lot of revenue, but now those projects are all gone. I'm estimating he's gonna bring in about 25,000, but that includes one of the COs he's working on. We don't have any other things that are big. Fine and forfeit bail, we talked about. DWI and PD grant, we're supposed to get a grant for 3,000 this year, last year was 5. Sales of scrap materials, people say, do we make a lot of money off of that? Not much, but we're gonna include it. Anything to offset taxes, we're gonna include it, that we can legally, of course. Revenue, so last year, we had a memo, hey, I go by the book. Last year, there was a revenue line called AIMS, which stands for Aid and Incentives for Municipalities. They told us at the beginning of the year, which was our budgeting cycle, we're not getting the money. We actually ended up getting it. And they said we will get it again next year, so that's why it's back in the budget. I skipped gifts and donations. We get grants from time to time that are like pop-up grants. The only one I know about is one that Ron Feller.
That was the one for the swing down here.
And this is a new one. He's giving us another one.
Picnic tables.
So, we have to make sure we allocate all the money that we get in from the town or anywhere. That was, I think, for Orange County.
That was Orange
County. Mortgage tax. This is a little concerning to me. So we've had a 33% precipitous decline in mortgage tax for the past 3 years. That's huge. This is where new mortgages are taken out. The money is collected at Orange County, and then they divvy up per county the taxes that they get on the fees that the mortgage banks give to the town. So we're right now only got one check. We're supposed to get another check in May. We only got a check for 25,000. I'm extremely concerned. And other municipalities, Newburgh, Orange County told me they're not expecting a lot there. So that's a little scary, so that's why it's so low. Senior dining program grant, we get $29,198 from Orange County Office of the Aging, so that's there. On the CHIPS, we do get grants for CHIPS. Right now, this is what we budget for, but the CHIPS money comes in, it goes out, so that's a wash. That's why it's not allocated here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, what's CHIPS again?
CHIPS has, Jay, can you help me here? Wait, let me see if I can get it.
That's money we get for the state road payments.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then the last one is the DARE. The year before, there was an error from a previous person who worked here. The DARE program grant was not submitted. It is being submitted by Joel's organization to make sure it's there. Any questions on revenue?
I'm Bibi Latif. Your senior dining room program grant has actually tripled. It was 10,000 before, now it's 29,000. What does that cover?
That covers part of the person who's getting paid from the food service grant. You guys help me.
From Orange County.
It also, from Orange County. It
Orange
also
County gives
covers
us
the
the money.
backup.
That person
It
is
was
an
you at
employee
one
of the
point.
village.
I don't know if you're still doing backup. It covers expenses for the senior dining program, like the fine dining and things like that. It covers the orders of, you know, the plates and materials and things like that, that they use at the coffee, the strainers, and things like that.
But that tripled? That all
No, it's been, well, I don't know what it was historically, I could just tell.
It looks like it was 10,006.
That's the actual, I can't
Okay,
tell
that's
you.
the actual, now it's 29,200.
So I gotta look at, all I know is we've gotten in the last 2 years, 29,198. I can't speak to the previous, but I think that is a question I could take over.
Yeah, but that 19,000 that we have for the,
That's separate.
if I can go back.
That expense line, that's separate. This is a grant that is focused only on the dining program for the food services program.
Okay.
The 19,000 is incremental line, that's on the expense line, that's not part of it.
And what does that 19,000 cover for the expenses?
So Darlene, do you want to take that question? My understanding is all the programs that are going to be facilitated here. Trip supplies, and what else?
Programs.
Programs that they facilitate here in the village. Any other questions? Revenue?
In lieu of what just happened to Bruce, do we have a fund or something that is a backup to help him while he's recovering?
There was discussion about Lant and Tully doing them. They would be our backup if something happened to them. We were talking to them if Bruce was out for a while. But he's doing okay. We do have a backup on that. Again, I tell you about Debbie's credentials. Anybody doubt me? And Tina also. And moving on to water bills. The water sales, that's the water bills. Do you get any questions on that part here? The water service charge, water closing readings, penalties, meters, sales, pretty much all self-explanatory. Water tank reserve, water. Any questions on any of this? Moving on to water administration expenses.
Sorry, I have
Services. Any questions on that? Yes?
the line for estimated surplus on the water fund revenue that is coming out of.
Yeah,
does
actually.
the water fund have its own fund balance?
No. I think what happened historically, they would put fund surplus there. We're not doing it this year. So it'll be zeroed out. Unfortunately, this went out before I found that out.
Okay, thank you.
So the 100 online, so everybody's clear on what she's referring to. It says estimated surplus, the 100,000 in each of those buckets, that comes out as zero. So it's the fund total overall.
Guys, Debbie, can we just define for people what the water fund is?
You mean the revenue?
Yeah.
So the revenue for water and sewer, I'll do it together because it makes sense to do it together. So when we bill you for 1,000 gallons, you get a bill every December and June, and that's to cover the water expenses as well as the sewer expenses. That's the revenue that comes in. Does that help?
We'll get back a little bit about phone hookups. Now, we're charging $500 to do this. It was over 30 years we didn't charge anything to the new resident hooking up, nothing. And our former superintendent here, Buddy Nelson, would say, why don't we go home? Council was saying, no, it was illegal, it was illegal, it was illegal. Well, it's not. And our new council said it's not. So we're charging for, so it was 30 years of growth in this village that we did not get hookups. We did not get paid for that. It was a loss. So think how much we lost on it. Thanks to Will, we now get $500 every time somebody can rent up. We've pretty much grown now.
Is that reflected in this budget?
$500? Yeah, it's like the page before, it's a help. You passed that. With the $500.
On the water hookups,
Yeah, where's that?
unless they, you will only see that, I think I mentioned it where the residents pay the hookup fee.
Right, right.
So,
That was,
That,
But
that,
Jay-
that should be 1,500 for water, 1,500 for sewer.
right, moving forward.
Now 500.
So we'll do that, we'll update that.
we'll just look for $500.
It says 500 on here, but it's 1,500.
$1,500, okay.
For water and 1,500 for sewer.
So for 30 years, we weren't getting anything.
Exactly.
Because think of all the development that happened in 30 years and all, the whatever we could have gotten. Whatever.
And residential, bigger lines or more.
Yeah, yeah. And everybody else, all outside this village, was doing it. Towns, villages, and all, not us. Where are we now?
We were on the expenses for water. Which is midway past the regular page, on page 9 in the midpoint.
I do have, this is my own personal curiosity. I've been long curious about this, but I'm curious, I understand my treasurer clerk, I understand why they would be on the water expenses because of the bills and everything. I guess I'm curious about why there's a line for the mayor on the water and the sewer as well, instead of just having the total salary under the mayor's line.
I asked the same thing. I
Yeah.
asked the same thing. I had no idea.
So
I know
reached-
so it's always been, but
to be honest with you, my understanding is if the leadership is in charge of the whole organization, there's a component of the water sewer that has to pay that budget. That's what the explanation I got, but I also have the
Okay,
same question.
no, I mean, that makes sense.
And then like Jay-
If I am signing off on plans or something, I have to charge that project.
Exactly.
And not a different project for that.
It's very similar to that approach, yes.
Okay.
So follow-up question, where does that money go?
What do you mean, where does it
Well,
go?
it says mayor and there's 1941, what happens to that money?
It's part of his salary.
Oh, so that's,
So the salary of the mayor
yeah,
is made up of the A line, which is the overall organization, plus water and sewer.
so it's what's on the previous page plus
Plus
this?
these two, one in water and there's
Yeah.
one in sewer,
Gotcha.
right? And if you look at the salary pages that I left on the desk, you'll
Yeah.
see that.
Okay, great.
We're still double checking numbers and things like that, that's why I put tentative, but Jake, he oversees the water department, but he also oversees street and park, so he would be the same.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions on page 10?
Yeah, first time, water administration, I believe. Water administration.
Sorry?
Water administration, halfway down page 9, we cannot go over that yet. Finish up the.
I'll do it.
Yeah, I know, like that's it.
Where are we looking now?
Well, that's where the question was for the 1942, so we discussed it. We didn't do the source of the supply.
We're on the bottom.
Okay, sources of supply, power and equipment. Any questions on that?
I have a question. Does that cover pump repairs and equipment that they have to do with the extraction wells to get everything licensed?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sure you're guys are ready. No, it's not.
All right, purification, any questions on that? transmission and distribution.
I had a question about the contractual, and this is just to go back to my previous question about water line breaks. I was not sure why there was such a large number under contractual for transmission and distribution. And that's why I was asking if water line breaks were also covered in the other bucket.
Yeah,
So it's partially covered as well.
Yeah, that's all the water, all water breaks and stuff like that come out of there.
Okay, thank you.
Employee benefits? I'm sorry.
So Jason, as far as the breaks, we're having those consistently at this point? 2 in the last 2 years? I guess my question is, where in this budget is the replacement plan? Where are we getting that replacement plan?
To replace a whole main, there's not one in here.
So kind of set up for a catastrophic failure?
No, not at all. But to replace a water main, you're talking millions.
What's the age of the one, the newest main we have?
The newest main that we have, we'd have to double check.
One down Walker Avenue.
I want to say now, I think Railroad was after Walk Hill. I think Railroad was the last one that we had done. I'm not gonna lie, Steve, I can't remember off the top of my head.
I know the plant itself is 40, and that's a life expectancy of 40 to 50. If we don't have a plant started, how are we going to build it in time if it's?
Life expectancy of water mains are 100 years.
That's different from the engine results out to
Oh, really?
this project. 40 to
Yeah, I
50.
mean,
With pumps in.
Newburgh still has wooden water mains.
I'm water main or sewage plant, sorry.
Oh, the plant?
Plant.
That's totally different. So what's your question on the plant?
We're kind of at its max, and it's a 3 to 7 year replacement build. Do we have any plan in place at all for?
We're working on it.
Because that, like you said, that's 3 to 5 million, right?
Yeah, me and Scott have been researching it, we're working on it.
Yeah, we've been on part of this where the town wanted to merge with us on something like this. They wanted us to build a plant. We consulted with people on this, and we have no more growth other than Weaver Street. And as far as I'm concerned, until Weaver Street straightens out their problem with the EPA, that's not going anywhere. Other than that, there's nothing else to grow here in the village, unless you go vertical. We're maxed out.
That's included in
That's already included in
Yeah.
that.
So, for us to widen and get bigger with the town, they have unbelievable growth out there. Move up, yeah. Did we do employee benefits? No, we're good.
That's very
Serial bond?
So we went over the bond. That was the debt page.
All right, we're up to sewer rent. Anything on the sewer rent, sewer charges? Anybody questions on that?
So the thing on sewer rent, the estimated surplus will also be 03931, just so you're for the record.
Administration. Administration, anybody got a question on that? Treasurer, clerk, deputy treasurer, mayor? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I do have a question. This is an idea for future cost savings opportunities. In terms of the utilities for the sewer plant, I was wondering if we could look at renewables. I mean, there's an initial large investment, but that's something that there are a lot of grants available for, and then we would have a lower utility bill long term. Just an idea for the future.
Thanks, Sabrina.
All right, administration, anything on that? Anybody got questions on that? Treatment and disposal, anything on that? Employee benefits? Bond anticipation notes? grand total sewer fund. That's it, so I repeat again, we're looking at 18.8%, and we're working on it all. So that's where it stands right there. It'd be $36.31 per month for the average homeowner, $435.72 per year for the average homeowner, and we're working on it hard, so.
And that's as it stands right now.
That's as it stands right now. We're working diligently on this thing, so we'll go from there. It was a lot higher than that when we all started working on this, so we're going along. Make a motion to close the meeting? I'll make that motion. Close the public hearing. Any questions or anything like that?
Well, I think, Randy, you wrote in a motion.
I made the motion.
Can I just can we second it first and then talk about it?
If you're, wouldn't it make sense for you to come back with another proposal that, and then we can discuss it again before we close it? When you close it, then we have no, when you come back with another proposal.
No, I was just gonna mention that, so, he said, he motioned to close the public hearing, right? Why don't we close the public hearing, because we met since 6:30, we met for 2.5 hours, and everybody's explained everything in it, you answered a lot of your questions. Don's got one outstanding question about resident, but we can just take written comments by like the 9th of April.
Someone make a motion and second it for discussion?
Yes, that's what I'm asking, I was asking.
Second it, we'll discuss it.
I'll second it, what Randy said.
Can you explain what that?
I have one more question as far as public. Wait, we're gonna start.
Well, we're gonna, all right, so I'm on, I was just, you know, I'll say it again, I just think we should close, I second closing the public hearing, but I would like to take comments and amend that to Randy's motion.
I think we should hear Karina's question because she.
I'm sorry, I didn't have a chance to put it at the end of the public hearing session. And I guess my question was really more procedural because I noticed that 2 of the trustees declined to vote on anything at the last meeting that had to do with things they were not going to be responsible for in the future. And I guess I just was wondering if that was going to be like a precedent that was set for any kind of closure of this hearing or anything like that.
Well, as Mike pointed out earlier, there was a little disconnect on when the old went out and the new came in. And apparently that was clarified as April 7th. I was as surprised as you that I'm here this evening, but as far as the budget goes, being sitting trustees, we still have a responsibility to vote on it, or be part of the
And I
process.
just didn't go as far as the police
Excuse me?
are accepting that grant last time or, no, it's just a question about the procedural question. Thank you.
Okay, did I misspeak? I'm sorry. No, is that not accurate? No, oh, okay.
All right, so about keeping the public hearing open with market, it's mentioned. What troubles me, I have a question I was asked, as you said, Kevin, but the mayor has said numerous times it's ongoing and we're continuing to work on it. So if you're continuing to work on it, this is April 1st. You don't have to do anything. We got a whole month here. In fact, your next meeting, you have a work session scheduled on, I believe, it's April 22nd.
It's not a work, it has nothing to do with that work, that's not a work session.
It says work session on it.
It is, we do procedure, we meet before, usually before the first meeting of the month, but we couldn't obviously this meeting. We do procedures, the board gets together before the meeting.
The point is,
It's not a work session for the budget.
the point is, we have a full month to go. It's only April 1st. There's no reason to close the public hearing when there's still, to your point, Kevin, stuff that has to come back for an answer. And the mayor has stated numerous times tonight that it's ongoing and we're continually working on it. If you're continually working on it, we, as residents, have a right to know what you're working on. And I don't see why you can't just, you know, you don't have to wait to the second meeting of the month. You guys can you created a meeting for Friday, right? There's going to be a meeting Friday?
Yes.
Right. So you can do that at any time, you know, to continue the public hearing until we get all these things resolved. It's worth it, Kevin. With an 18% increase, it's worth keeping it open so we have a clear understanding of the questions that's been asked and not answered.
Again, I think that we've answered, Debbie has answered a lot of questions, we've all answered a lot of questions. So I think the point I was trying to make was if there was any additional information that we haven't heard from residents tonight, we give them the opportunity to write those things into us. As your point to saying, you know, you don't know what the board is going to do, okay, at the next meeting. I'm sure that not myself and Randy, because we'll be off the board at that point, this board will make the modifications to the budget and present it back to for the final vote.
Well, at that point, we don't have a right to interject on whatever you're bringing back.
Right, you
The whole
leave it up to
point-
the people you elected to do.
Kevin, you were a longtime planning board chair. Your idea of written comments, that's a planning board term. That's not here for, you don't do that here for a budget. A budget is an interaction with the community and its board.
Why would we do that for the planning board, the people in the people that make comments to the planning
No,
board?
I'm saying that what Kevin was saying about written statements. Written statements don't cut it when we're dealing with a budget.
Well, the planning board is just as important. Why can't people?
No, you don't understand the process.
A public hearing is a public hearing.
Exactly. A public hearing is a public hearing.
And I'm asking to keep it open. It's only April 1st, man. It's only April 1st. No need to close it.
I agree, as a resident. Question.
I'll talk.
There's a hand up.
Yeah.
I just want to clarify something. We got a motion in a second.
I'm sorry.
Let him go.
I printed out my taxes here. I just want to make sure it's the same as I want to assume it. So the village tax right now, it says it's $17.55 per $1,000 of assessed value. Is that the same for everybody? I assume that it is?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Depending
I
on
don't-
your assessed value.
Right, but
The
it's,
higher
the
or lower
percentage is the
it
same
is.
for everybody, right? The 1.75%? So I just wanted to say, people are saying 18% and all this stuff. In reality, right now, your assessed value of your house, I know at least mine, if I ripped my windows and doors out, threw it on the lawn, and ripped my walls down, I'd sell it for twice what's the assessed value. And we're taxed now for the village at a rate of 1.75%. That's going to 2.06%.
Right.
That's what the real numbers are.
Right.
So imagine you were getting a raise, and they said, great news, you're not getting 1.57% raise, you're getting 2.06, what would you say? Big deal, what's 0.31%? That's really what the 18% amounts to. It's 2.06% of your assessed value is your tax rate. In contrast, you're paying 3.65 to the school, almost double. So you hear 18%, you panic, but it really means you're paying 2.06% of your assessed value of those taxes. Year-over-year value of your house, according to the real estate website, is 19% increase.
That's irrelevant.
So, I'm just saying.
Wait, Mark.
I'm just saying the actual impact of an 18% increase is your rate percentage against your assessed value goes from 1.75 to 2.06. So it's not really that big of a deal.
It's 20 point. It's, I think you got the decimal point wrong.
You think it's 20% of your assessed value?
addressing
The new number is going to be $20.80.
Guys, Kevin should be addressing the board, not at the beat.
Yeah.
So, it's 18.
Don, Rob.
Gentlemen, respectfully, let's address the comments of the board.
What he's saying was it was $20 per thousand, which is 2%, which is what I said. 2.06% versus $20 per thousand is the same thing. So don't panic.
Thank you.
I'm going to state it again. It's a lot of money. It's $400 a year. I'm on a fixed budget. You're one person who's sticking your hand in my pocket. I have the county, I have the state, I have the federal. Everyone's sticking their hand in my pocket. I don't mind paying for services, but it's a lot of money when you're on a fixed income, okay? So it's just very frustrating to, to live in this state and have everyone just taking more and more money. So,
And that's why.
regardless of what, I don't care about the percentages, I don't care about my home value, that's irrelevant. It's $400 a month, a year that I have to pay. And with the rate of inflation and the rate of, just the cost of living in this state, it's getting unbearable. So, I just want to make that comment. I'm not blaming anyone, I'm just saying, you gotta sharpen your pencils, you gotta come back with better numbers. I would hope you can come back with better numbers, because it's out of control. The town just hits us up with it. Everyone, I get it, everyone, whatever. Everyone has excuses, but it's expensive. It's very expensive to live here. It's outrageous to live in the state.
That's why everybody's leaving.
Yeah, and they're gonna continue to leave. Anyway.
I just got one question. Is there,
Just get the name and address the first.
Bob Reynolds, 76 Weaver Street, Monroe.
I'm sorry.
Is there a date that a preliminary budget has to be adopted, and then what is the date of the final budget that has to be adopted?
May 1st is when the budget has to be adopted.
Is there a preliminary date that has to be adopted?
No, the public hearings have to be completed by April 20th.
Sorry.
It had to have been presented by March 20th, which it was. So now we have until that time, until May 1st to approve it.
You got one more?
So I just want to add one more thing to what this gentleman said. You do pay a ton of taxes to everybody. The only ones you can see the result from your front porch is the village taxes. You can sit on your porch all day, you won't see the 20% sent to the feds, you won't see the 10% sent to the state, you won't see the percent sent to the town. You'll see your DPW, your cops, your snow plows and everything else. The only tax, the only investment, if you want to consider taxes an investment, the only ones you'll see from your front porch are the ones you pay to the village. The rest will go through a black hole somewhere. You won't see what the state does for you, the town does for you, or anybody else. Only what the village does. And 2.06% or thereabouts is the lowest you'll pay for anything.
In years past, we've had more revenue come in, right? We haven't seen our expenditures rise. I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at either getting rid of employees, cutting services, or raising taxes. Those are the three things. I don't have any desire or the stomach to get rid of an employee to bring the tax rate down. So again, I appreciate everyone's comments, and I think we had a lot of comments tonight, and that's why I second the motion. Again, I don't see why we need to leave it open. I would say that our board would be able to do the people they elected. You guys elected this board to do the budget, and I think we've heard that.
They didn't. They elected two other people,
Yes.
and you will not be here. And it is unprecedented to even hold this meeting, a reorg meeting, or a meeting about a budget with a board that two members of it will not be on it when we're approving the budget. I think that's irresponsible. Tough times call for tough decisions. And this is, yes, today, but you will not be implementing this budget.
We are not approving the budget.
Yes, but you're not going to be a board member implementing this budget from this chair. And I think that this is
No,
highly
we're not.
uncalled for.
But the
I think you
motion,
can, it's very simple and it's harmless, right, and it's very simple and it's harmless to continue the public hearing and adjourn it for now and pick it up at the next meeting. We have plenty of time. And I also
Which
wanna
is
say for
fine,
the
but let's
record,
be
I
clear.
did not know that we were having a meeting. On Friday I asked a question back, I did not receive anything, so I would like clarification on what that meeting is for.
Find that out later. Let's finish with the
But we have
Let's
a
do this.
fiduciary
Let's finish with this.
responsibility to do the best thing that we can. If we
Right,
approve
we
this
are.
budget as is, we're effectively giving our residents,
We're not
because they,
approving the budget
I
as is.
understand that, and we're up for discussion, and I'm discussing now. I listened to everyone, I did not interject at all, and now we're open for discussion. Closing this public hearing is not only irresponsible, it's uncalled for, it's unprecedented, and it's rude. This is a very serious tax increase that calls for tough discussions to be had, and we have the responsibility to leave this hearing open until the next meeting.
okay, so what you're saying is, so what you're saying
Let's
is,
go and calm here, please. Let's stop here.
no, I get it, I get what you're saying about that, but I'm saying that just to close the public hearing, I'm not saying we're gonna, the motion isn't to approve
They
the
don't
budget,
have
the
any
motion is to
other
approve.
recourse or
I was,
power.
now I'm talking, can I
Okay,
talk, or are you
you're
gonna talk
public
over me?
Yeah,
It's my turn now.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just saying, Randy, I said, Randy Wilbur motioned to close
I
the
think
public
that's the
hearing.
only reason you two are here.
Oh,
Because
absolutely.
they know that. if
That is
they
completely
could
out of line.
They could have
They're
approved
still-
both of you.
Up until,
Their term isn't up, that's
Up
why.
And the question I got was to.
Up until the other
postpone
day,
meeting.
we thought the two new board members were gonna be here.
And last
This
week, I
would be-
texted you, I emailed you and said, do we think we should, no, I will not stop talking, actually. And last week, I emailed you and said, would it not be prudent to adjourn the meeting and postpone it 1 week so that we would be in line with the new trustees taking office? That's not an unreasonable
didn't say
statement.
any of this.
Yes, I did email it to
You
you.
did not. No, you
In
did
this
not.
whole
So
list.
the other side of that, would it have been fair to two new trustees to throw them up here without having the opportunity to look at the budget and go through everything that, we've been working on this for 3 months now? Back and forth, going over the numbers and everything else? Now, I'm sorry if you don't have faith based on my demonstrated performance of that member Caneros, that we looked at these numbers as village residents and trustees who take the job very responsibly to do the best we can. I apologize if you don't have that faith, but I also take it very personal. I have to pay taxes and I'm getting hit with the same amount. We're not passing a budget as is implied by her that somebody else is going to inherit. That's not fair to anybody, and I wouldn't do that. And I know member Canaro wouldn't do it either. I'll ignore the faces, I've had to put up with for a year, but that's where we're coming from. You have two new trustees that will step in and have a part going forward to refine the budget before it gets voted on. Is that correct?
Mhm.
Good, thank you.
Up until a couple of days ago, I thought you guys would be sitting here. Then we were told this.
So, can I get a clarification then? You will not be voting on this budget on
I
Friday?
didn't hear. I'm sorry.
No,
You will not be voting to ratify the budget on Friday?
no.
What?
You will still come in and meet with.
That's the question they're asking.
No,
I'm trying to clarify.
The motion was to close the public hearing, not to approve the budget. There's still,
On the next, on the
On the agenda, it says resolution to adopt.
That's always on, that's always on. We're not going to address it.
And given the increase, you could have deleted it and taken it out of the discussion altogether. It's very simple.
well, we didn't really open this part of the meeting yet. We still haven't gone through. We could take these items off and then agree to the agenda modification.
I am wholeheartedly against closing the public hearing. I think it should be continued until the 22nd. It can be closed out on the 22nd.
Can't close it on the 22nd. The public hearing has to be completed by the 20th. That's in the statute. If there's an extension of the public hearing, which is up to the board, it cannot go beyond April 20th under Article 5 of the village law.
Then we should not be moving the meeting to the 22nd from its schedule on the 15th.
Can I just make one comment really quick? Honestly, I don't think that you're gonna, I think Kevin's probably right. You can't move this budget that much. You're not gonna be able to get much out of it. So regardless of whether you guys are there or the new guys are there, you're gonna have to vote on a budget that's very similar to this. But let me just finish one thing. Going forward, the new members and the current board members, can you please increase the rates at a, gradually? It's not that we don't mind paying, just boil, the frog, boil, but don't hit me with this huge rate, just boil me like a frog. Like slowly increase. I don't mind that, but when all of a sudden it goes from zero, from 1%.
Mark, I have said that for years. That's the way we run our budget at home. You do that.
But then why do we
It's like
do it here?
Because I didn't run the budget.
Just-
How do you say at a board meeting, no, we have to talk, we have to go over.
I'm doing it right now. You don't like it, but you have the exact same power as me to ask these questions, to push back, to get
I'm
to know the
answering Mark's
budget
question.
process.
It's like having, I have done this. It's like skipping, I've said this at meetings, it's like skipping oil changes. Okay? Eventually, the motor's gonna blow. It has blown. It blew under this administration.
And I think, yeah, let's clarify that I don't believe that the budget, if we close the public hearing, I do not believe that the budget that we went over tonight is going to be the final budget that the new board is going to vote on. And I think they're going to be negotiating this, Debbie's going to go through it again, like you said, with the scalpel and go through and cut things out where it needs to be cut. I'm sure there's stuff you can cut here to make it. I don't think it's going to be a tremendous amount that you're going to cut, and it's going to reduce your taxes. You're
I'll
going
give
to
you a
see a 2%
little hint, there is
increase.
stuff we found. But we're just not 100% sure of it. And anybody thinks that this was a setup or anything diabolical, they're wrong. They're wrong. This was not, we totally expected to have two new board members here. Because at the last meeting, I congratulated these guys. Thank you for all you've done. We applauded. And the next thing, our attorney contacts and goes, they're not out yet. Why do you mean they're not out? It's April 1st. Well, it's got to be the first Monday, which is the 7th. I said, so what happens? He goes, they got to appear at the meeting. I'm surprised they showed up. They could have said the hell with you, not showing up. So this is how it happened. This is the way it is.
So why do we not have another meeting next Tuesday? This is a historical increase in a budget that has never happened in this village, ever. And we're giving our residents an almost 30% increase in what they're paying because of what we know the increase in the town already was. This is a serious situation that should be given.
This is a serious situation that was caused by the state of New York.
No.
This is caused by this stay below the cap stuff. Always stay below the cap. Always stay below the cap. We're intelligent people here. We're intelligent people here. We know you have to keep up with inflation. Again, I go back to skipping oil changes. Okay? This is how we wound up in this position. Because we followed an imaginary, we can do more with less people.
It doesn't matter how we got here. We're here now, and we need to do better. And so what we can do is we can have a meeting next week. We can have a meeting on the 15th. We can talk about it more. We can make the budget open. We can have more conversations about it. If you are choosing not to do that, that's fine. But you sat on this board and you've approved these budgets year after year after year, and now we're in a very sticky situation that requires more thoughtful input.
That was nice saying.
So I think, no, I don't know if you want to call for a vote or what you want to do. I stated the reason why I seconded it. I take written comments. But again, this board is not approving the budget tonight.
We're not approving the budget tonight, and it's not going to change drastically. Yes, Bill.
I just want to say one thing. So, you just said, you're not approving the budget tonight. The new members that are going to be coming on are going to be able to look at this budget, make any adjustments they want to make, and they're the ones that are going to approve the budget, not sitting up there right now.
Right.
So what is the big discussion? It's closing the public hearing. I understand it. Everybody's had their chance to make their complaints here. There's been very good complaints. They've all listened. You guys will all listen to it. The new board members will be able to take that stuff and apply it to the budget and go forward with it.
The new board members they have seen the budget. They sat down with Debbie, and it's not like they don't know about it, but they already know the budget.
You're closing the public hearing. You could have another public hearing, and then they'd want to keep it open again. I would hope that everybody voice their opinion right now, and it's all over with. And then the new board members can take that information and move forward with it.
James Kiernan, 394 Angela Drive. I am a little confused. What is the fear about keeping the meeting open? Why are trustees feeling like they do not want to keep the meeting open until next time?
I second the motion. There's no fear.
Okay, why is your decision, we have to not have it open? Why would it be not good to leave it open?
Because we went through it first.
I believe you, but what if people still would like to have it open as residents? Why would you not want that?
You could still submit questions, you could still submit your comments, not quite
I
comments,
appreciate
but
that.
budget.
I know
And these guys.
but I don't understand. Okay. I don't understand why you don't want to leave it open.
I don't want to.
You have to close it eventually.
You do, but it doesn't have to be today.
And tonight was the public hearing for the budget, and people voiced their opinions tonight. If they didn't voice their opinion here tonight, the board is here to accept those comments and then adjust accordingly. But you have to close the meeting sometime. So what happens
You do, but it
next
doesn't
time?
have to be tonight.
Why? What questions are in the way of closing?
I think people are still wanting to be here, and it's okay to leave it open. Why is that not good to leave it open? Again, the transparency guys. Transparency. It's okay to welcome the public into this. It's okay.
You like to use that word transparent, and the board is being transparent. We put the budget out there, we explained it. So, listen, I made the motion, seconded, I have nothing further.
I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Closing the
You
public
name and
hearing.
address for the record, please?
Karen DeCrosta, 168 Water's Edge. Closing the public hearing is an act of finality, and leaving it open leaves a safety net, maybe not for you, but for the citizens. We want to hear what the revisions are going to be. So you either close the door and that's it, nobody else is getting in, or you leave it open and allow for additional evaluation of the budget.
This was publicized that this meeting was happening tonight.
I'm sorry?
This publicized that the meeting was happening tonight. The folks that are here knew about it.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so how long does this continue to go on?
Until the villagers feel more assured about what their fiscal responsibility is going to be to the village.
And how long does that continue? How long does it continue? We have 4,500 people.
I think it
living in this
continues until you present a budget that seems more reasonable to the villagers.
village. That is what we came up with, and this was a lot of work involved with it. We still got more to do on it.
Leave it open.
I want to hear those changes. You say you have a lot more to do on it. The public.
Not a lot more.
Well, you just said that.
You got more to do.
No, you said. Okay, I guess I'm done.
Just put it on the website when you make
After
changes.
after it's closed, Will, how long is written comments happen? Is it open for written comments?
That's up to the board.
Okay, so you can have it open for written comments.
You can have it open up for written comment.
Well, let me finish before.
Excuse me.
Well, let me, I'm talking.
Gentlemen, please, this is comments addressed to the board or the advisors, okay? Please don't have a debate.
I'm not trying to, but he's.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mark, go.
Okay, so I asked Will a question, how long does that can be open for? It's open for a week. We're beating a dead horse. Bob's right. If this is not going anywhere, and it's not gonna change that drastically, okay?
But we don't know that. We don't know if it's gonna change.
Listen,
And there's two.
folks,
You know, he had a good idea too.
folks.
Kevin said, we're gonna cut people, we're gonna cut services, nobody's gonna accept that. So why don't we just close the meeting, have it open for comments, you can add your comments, and then take it from there, because you have a deadline, we can't leave this open forever.
So it's not going to change drastically.
Yeah, so what are we sitting here arguing about?
Exactly. So let's go backwards. We still have a regular village meeting to go on to. So let's go back and make a motion to close this public hearing.
I made a motion, I made a
All in
second.
favor?
You guys will vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Carried.
I need to vote, and I would like to vote no, but
Then vote no.
I'm speaking to the attorney. My concern is that it's not advisable to even be having this meeting with the current board that we have in the transition that's coming. Is there any chance in which this is not legal and we shouldn't be doing it?
It's perfectly legal.
Okay.
It's perfectly legal, and as been said this evening, the incoming board members are going to have a chance not only to participate in the ongoing process, they're the ones that are also going to be voting on it.
Yes, so no.
I'm sorry, what?
So my vote is no, I'm not abstaining. Thank you for
Okay.
the information.
Again, so the public knows.
If you're
the
this
two
angry, why
in-
did you come?
The two incoming board members had personal sit-downs with the treasurer. This is not being done behind the scenes. I made sure that was done. So it's not, no wool getting pulled over their eyes. And again, I'll say it again, I expected them to sit here tonight. Our attorney told us they would be here tonight, or they could be here tonight. So let's close the board.
Questions
Can we take
and
a 5 minute break?
comments through the info.
We'll start our regular meeting.
I'll see you.
My dad didn't.
Huh? Yeah, no.
Score, bro.
For your very precise
Bite your tongue, right? Bite your tongue. I hear it.
I'm not against bringing it.
There's a lot that's going to be uncovered. A lot.
Okay, folks. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. How are you?
I'm better understanding. Hi, Randy.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for a moment of silence for Officer Santiago, who was killed. He used to be a village police officer for years. He was killed on 17 by a driver going the wrong way, and his wife is in the hospital in serious condition. That puts things into perspective, people. Thank you.
Can we make a change to the agenda just before we get started? Can we do that? Is it procedurally to do it now? Or?
Just give me a second to go to my thing and do these things. Oh, just want to point out, I don't know if you caught me up here watching our attorney. He's in pretty bad shape. Okay, he does not feel good. I was going to leave and drive him home. I don't know what wrong, but I really was concerned about him. So if I lost my place while we were doing this, I was more concerned with that. All right, thank you. No, it's okay. I know this kid picked him up or something like that. You know, you see things like this with Officer Santiago and things, and it kind of looks at this community and you're like, we're all here together. The two board members that come on up here, I want them to have a good time. I want them to enjoy themselves. I want them to have, I don't want them to go through what I did for a year and turn their back on me and all that stuff. And I refuse to allow that to happen. Okay, Sydney Nolan, I've been friends with her for years. Very good friend with her. Her husband, I worked with him when I was in the fire department, I was in the police department. A real good guy. Okay? Steve Ambriani, I don't know. I know his mother. I've given her that homes, I've been there when she needed. So these are good people. So are these people. Okay? We're all good people. So let's not start a Hatfield and McCoy thing here, all right? Let me just go into here. All right. Before I do that, okay. Food bank is still has career jobs available. They're looking to get 401k and vacation and benefits. So you know people want it. That's a career job. St. Patrick's Day Parade was awesome. It was a huge success. And I thank our village employees on their own time worked that day. All right, the caboose over here. The caboose tracks were laid the other day by Ray's Transportation into Windsor for nothing. They gave us all the equipment, they did everything. They did that. I'm going to institute what's called the Buy a Brick program, where you buy a brick like in front of the preschool, and I've got people who are going to do landscaping. And the object of the caboose is to make revenue here, to rent it out. I got 5 grandkids, 5 different birthday parties. Urban Air charges like $400 to do it. All these different places charge to rent out places. How cool would it be for a family to rent out to the caboose? They say we charge $200. Well, we're not going to put an oven in it, so we're going to have all menus. They're going to buy stuff from the village stores here. When it comes time to play, go across the street and play in the park. It's pretty good. It's a money maker here. And we're going to have somebody bring it down there. This is kind of sad. Okay, I don't want to say the municipality, but a local Little League field had to have their dugouts washed out with hot water and cleaned because the homeless were living in there. So Joe, can you make sure that's not happening in ours? And there's another thing. Rochester Police. They got in trouble for backing up the Border Patrol and ICE, enforcing the law. That's not going to happen here. We follow federal statutes. If a fellow officer, Border Patrol, ICE, or whatever calls for backup, I don't even have to tell them. He'll be there before I can say anything. That's what we do. We do that stuff. And one other thing I want to bring up about shared services, I saw these guys in action. They call me anytime anything serious happens. That's what they do. They call me up, Mike, we got this going on, we got that going on. They called me up about a barricaded suspect on Union Street the other day. This is the difference between a police officer and a cop. These guys knew how to handle this barricaded suspect. Our newly appointed full-time police officer was there, Bob Reynolds, along with our chief and other guys. And they knew enough to get the sheriff's department involved. And it all ended peacefully. I just sat down in the street and watched. The cop in me wanted to get involved, but that's not me anymore. But this is what we're dealing with. This is what we have. We have a good professional police force. We have a good village we live in. And I want to keep it going that way. There's always being this somebody will be a mayor in the future. But I have to live here. I cannot move because my kids live here. So what happens here continues throughout generations. All right, let's get moving on. The Darlene's giving me the look.
I just would like to just make an adjustment to the agenda. So if there is something here on the second item to consider adopting tentative budget, I want to cross that out. Does anybody have any objections to that?
We're going to put annual appointments. Annual appointments.
What's in red?
The ones in red. These are annual appointments. Deputy Village Clerk Bree Murphy. She expires. She's good till the 26th. April 1st to the 26th. Okay. Vote on that. No. All right. Everybody here. Deputy Treasurer Heather Mears. Clerk per diem Ronnie Ricker. DPW Clerk Stephanie Cochran. Police Clerk Ann Bondino. Associate Justice Aaron Crowley. Clerk to Village Justice, too late, already expired. Jessica Nelson. Court Assistant Amanda Kearney. Member Member, Planning Board Member Sophia Romano. Member Chairman William Freeman. Member Robin Reynolds. Zoning Board of Appeals, Michael Thomas. Michael Tompkins, sorry, I wrote that Michael Thomas. That's what I'm saying. Board of Ethics, Doug Cole, Building Inspector, Bruce Yankowitz, Village Attorney William Frank, Village Attorney Joe McKay, Village Attorney Marcella, Lance and Tully, and Depository of Village Funds, Orange Bank and Trust, official newspaper, Walker Valley Times, where I think it does an excellent job reporting for the village, at least our section. Judy Van Nozel, postings of local notices, Academy Building, meeting room, senior center, website, Walden Savings, U.S. Post Office. You do the recreation center?
Recreation Director, Tom Taylor, Recreation Supervisor, Jennifer Jackson, and Recreation Leader, Michelle Donovan. Okay, that's it. Motion to approve all these people.
I make a motion for everything except the recreation department, I will vote on. Make a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
I have a question. When we're taking into when we're appointing board members, do we take into account and we discuss it at all with recommendations with the chairman of that board?
Yes, I do.
That's it.
I vote yes on everything except the recreation department. I abstain from that for obvious reasons. Say aye. Opposed? Carried. Okay. Moving on to meeting, we have consider adopting local law for overriding the tax levy limits established in general rules of the law, section 3-C for fiscal year 25-26. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adopt a resolution to set FY 2025-2026 regular meetings for all boards. With motion.
I'll second it for discussion. I just have a question. Yeah, I'll second it for discussion.
And you can move it for vacation, you can do this.
Well, we have two, when we did it in the summer, are we gonna have two meetings? in
No,
July?
I don't know.
Yeah,
We
that
only
was
have
my
one.
motion.
Yeah, the second
So
one.
maybe we could have like two in July and two in August.
No, we only have one.
I want to pick one, huh?
We had an extra meeting because we had money we had to appropriate for the senior center, so we had an extra meeting.
Tuesday, July 1st, and then Tuesday, July 15th, and then Tuesday, August 5th, and Tuesday, August 9th. So we usually only have one in July and one in August, but there are 2 weeks.
Oh, we'll wait for that. We can always
So we
change
can
it.
always
Yeah.
change it when we figure out.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a second.
I'm on.
I seconded it, yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adopt a resolution to authorize payment in advance of audit for utilities, postage, freight, express.
Can I ask a question there? Sorry, am I allowed to?
Yeah, go ahead.
So for that one, you're saying we pay them first and then you go to the approval? Just like controller does, that's how we do it today.
That's the only thing we're allowed to authorize to pay payment for.
Well, there's two more things, but we already do it because controller says we can.
We do it every year at the reorg meeting. Some of these things we vote on every
Got
year.
it? I want to make sure I'm doing it.
I'll make a motion. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adopt a resolution to authorize municipal officials and employees to attend school conference seminars, etc., conducting for the benefits of Village Montgomery.
I'll make that motion.
Make a motion.
Yeah.
I didn't. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Adopt a resolution to annual audit, examine court records by Deputy Mayor Andolfi.
That's not on the new agenda.
Is that off?
That's not on this agenda.
Is it on or off, Tina? It's off. Thank you.
Okay, never mind.
Thank you. because it's too early.
Approve a 30-day advance notice for Montgomery Food and Drink Incorporated, doing business as Copperfield to sell wine and beer and cider on 19th Street. Second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. I just want to, I didn't mention this. Going back to, if you remember a couple board meetings ago, I said I would not do business with any company or municipality, or any company who did not pay us their financial obligation. Well, they all did. We got over $100,000. Okay, we got over $100,000 back, monies that were 5 years old. They were from different places. Now we'll go back to the KSH. We still, before I sign anything, do any kind of studies, whatever, they have to settle with DEP. They're going to get approval to, or for DEP to do whatever they want to do. Then they can come back to us. We're spending too much money doing on possibilities which we don't even know they can build. So move into a house before we sign the lease. And the last thing, anybody go to Cinderella the other day?
Excellent.
Those kids are juniors and seniors, okay? That was amazing. All right, moving on. Darlene's looking at me. Sister, I have a question. Okay. Events. April 12th is breakfast with the Easter Bunny from 9 to 11, followed by the annual Easter egg hunt at 11:30.
I have a question about this. Can you just clarify this before we go after the kid? The Easter egg hunt is still free. You can come to the breakfast, right? Totally separate. I thought I just want to ask.
Completely free, but the breakfast is.
So if you don't come to the breakfast, everyone out there at 8:30, you can come to the egg hunt, same egg hunt as always, but if you'd like to
At
come to the
11:30
breakfast.
is the egg hunt, but the breakfast.
I figured, but I wanted to be sure. Thank you.
Debbie, thank you very much. We got to see her resume. Sister Alexander, third grade. All right, April 21st through May 2nd, hydrant flushing is scheduled between the hours of 7 and 4. I'll do a roll call just to remind people of that. April 26th, 2025, summer rec registration at the rec center from 8 to noon. I recommend getting online early for that. Public portion, Sean Enright. Questions regarding summer camp, Sean? Okay. James Kieran.
Good evening. I've become encouraged each time a village meeting is scheduled to be held here at the senior center. With no small expense this year has seen the transformation of the senior center into an even more fully ADA compliant site. It has obviously always been an ADA compliant site, as the Orange County Board of Elections has attested to again and again. I think to myself, great investment, and have been assured by the public officials sitting before me on numerous occasions that when the senior center work is completed, we would move all village meetings to the senior center. I become discouraged each time I realize that no, all meetings will continue to be held at Village Hall, despite the money invested in this building, which was to be ready for all future village meetings. Please, can we hear our elected public officials, maybe not tonight, discuss the reasons pro or con for moving meetings to the senior center? Can we please allow the many, those of us who wish more transparency, that's my favorite word, more access to our local government, those you represent, a chance to voice their opinion pro or con? Please can we recognize the positive, encouraging effect it would have on your voting public to be acknowledged, and that all are not only welcome, but avidly encouraged to attend the more accessible and public-friendly space this site provides. And why do we want more people involved and interested in our village happenings in government and not home watching TV? All of the good people serving this village, those elected and those that are volunteers, were all encouraged by someone to get involved. We want strong civic leaders, some who might want to be elected. The better informed they are on the runnings of our government, the more effective they'll be. And volunteers. Yes, volunteers are the lifeblood of our village, and what better way to encourage our fellow residents to get involved in helping out than opening our arms wide by providing a space that ensures as many can come to meetings as possible. Find adequate parking, find a chair to sit in, find space to stretch their legs, possibly find activities here at the senior center they might want to participate in, and they're here and they can see those. It encourages community, which encourages community that cares about their own community. And that's really the energy we want. We want that. That's how we truly honor one another and honor this village. Please move these village meetings permanently to this senior center. Thank you.
Did you want to answer, James?
No.
I don't know if I did, but thank you for that. But I thought it was getting late, so I just wanted that.
Tracy, yes.
All right. Who's going? So you can go this time, you goes last time.
Well, I'm sorry?
I not.
Oh, wow, okay. Wow. Yeah, Jake's head.
I guess I'll go first. Tomorrow's going to start one of our spring, hopefully, spring activities outside. We have a new walking club. Now with warm weather, hopefully staying, you can get a new exercise club that can walk down to the river. I've got a few more other outdoor activities for them. Sue Nichols is going to be here for Health and Wellness on the 9th and the 23rd. Just a reminder that the local DMV unit will be here Friday on the 11th. Tracy's Easter egg hunt and the Easter breakfast with Easter Bunny. Anybody would like to volunteer, they can contact myself or Tracy. What else do I have? Oh, our the defensive driving course only has a few spots left. So if anybody is looking to sign up for May 3rd, you only have a few more chances and then that's it, it's closed. The art class that's coming in May is starting to fill up, same thing, once that's done, it's closed off. So if you want to sign up now. And then I'm good.
What time is the mobile kids be here?
They will be here from 10 to 12, 12 to 1 will close, and then back at 1 to 3:30.
Just a question, is that on the website?
The DMV, yes.
And also defensive driving is on the website too?
Yes.
It's on Facebook too. So that.
Well done.
I'm good.
Thank you. Go.
All right, just a couple things as far as the month of, March. We had, in total, after you remove our daily shift blotters, we had 222 calls for service. Almost 70 of those were traffic stops, so we're seeing an increase in just people calling us, which is good. Nothing absolutely insane happening, just it's good that people are calling us and they're reporting things that need to be reported, so I appreciate that. As far as with nicer weather coming out, you're going to see the speed trailers going to be back out there. We will be conducting our buckle up and safety checkpoints. And again, with the nice weather, just make sure you are locking cars overnight. We already had one license plate stolen recently, and obviously that's has nothing to do with your locked car. But groups tend to come through. They go down like the East Coast and just hit towns and villages here and there. So just make sure everything is locked up and tight. Don't make an easy target. That's all I got.
Okay, anything further before it's okay? With that, I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll post mine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, I can post them. I have a status report because I did one last year. At this time for just things that we're going over through the year, like Q audit, EV chargers, eco, outdoor dining, employee handbook. So I'll post that on Facebook, or you can email me and I'll send it to you. And then planning board I attended last week on the 26th. Rally project was extended due to water moratorium. 77 Clinton Street has to submit a new as-built site plan. All concerns were addressed in the next meeting, maybe the continuation of the KSE public hearing. Volunteer opportunities, I'm waiting on Will and I see Jake in that in that email? Well, your main.
Volunteers?
Yes, I mean for Stephanie and Will to connect, but hopefully I'll send another email out about that for them. Hopefully we can get some volunteers going.
Volunteers for what?
Well, wait. Did you connect with Mrs. Hernandez?
I did.
Good, all right, perfect, I love that. We were talking about having them assist in handing out, the newsletters.
Oh.
So there's like a lot of hours that these
Kids
students
need.
There's,
Absolutely.
I don't know if you left already, but there's a gentleman that comes frequently, he sits in the back, so they
Oh,
learn
sure.
They need a lot of hours for all the various honor societies, so if anybody stops answering you, let me know.
Well, a mom got in touch with me actually, an honor
Good.
society mom, to have a bunch of the kids do stuff.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
So we're working on that, and I'll resume work on the speed sign at the elementary school, and that's about it. 12 this month.
Big sister says now I can make a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Second?
I'll second it.
All right, again, this is their last meeting. We're all residents, we all live here, we all love this village. I would appreciate it if they got a round of applause for all of them. And a round of applause for the new people that are coming up.